somebody from Jacobson must have been here over the holidays.
And too. All right.
Well, should we say the pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consider for approval, minutes and agenda.
Make a motion to
Approve those.
Motion from Stenzer and a second from Jensel to approve the minutes and agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Oath of office, do we have any?
No.
Okay.
Let's see that.
This is the part where we appoint the chair and he just left the room.
I think so.
I'll make a motion to approve Bill Jensvold as chair.
And yourself as vice chair. I'll second the motion. So we've got a motion from Stenzer and a second from Derby to appoint Bill Jensvold chair and Mike Stenzer vice chair. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So all yours, Bill.
Oh boy.
Take one down, pass it around.
Okay, is there, we're on to the appointments to several boards,
Mm-hmm.
let's see, there were some. So some that we had to find someone. Medical examiner.
What, Byron stepping down?
Oh, yeah. Has he already?
No, the one that stepped down probably would have been Dr. Keller, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know if he was stepping down.
Well, I don't know if he is or not. No, I just thought that.
There was discussion on pay, though.
Okay, all right. Forget that one.
We just appointed Twyla's been on.
Are these have to boards, Carla?
What do you mean?
You have to be there. Sandy and I have never, well, I did the first two times, but then I talked to Sandy and I'm the Citizens Advisory Board, Cherokee. It's the most worthless trip to make. You have no voting power, you just sit there and listen to crap is what it is. So that's what I was asking, do you have to have a representative?
Yes.
Okay, I'll say it, I guess, yeah, it's fine.
Perfunctory.
Yeah.
I did get letters from the Graphic, the Buffalo Center Tribune, and Forest City Summit requesting to be official papers.
How's Summit doing on their pricing?
I don't think they've changed anything.
Didn't they drop a little last year or something, trying to get us to accept them? And we didn't, still didn't accept them.
I think so. Something else was requested, or did you say?
Yeah, they all did.
Oh, they all did. Okay. Just that.
I suppose CSS board will change.
What's that?
That'll change to North Southwest Iowa Care Connections.
At some point,
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what the time frame is gonna be on that.
well, it might be an overlap where you start kinda, you have to go over there on official capacity without a voting.
Yeah, well. Yeah. And Cassuth County didn't vote to go on with the new employer record thing and all that. CSS was in Donna there, Wilson there. They said they had her shut off the email yesterday already.
The North Iowa Vocational Center Board is no longer, they downsized that board when they combined with Division One.
Which one's that?
North Iowa Vocational Center Board, Nivik. They asked for anybody that didn't care if they were on board. I said so. Mark from work said so. So I mean, I said I'll just leave it up to you guys.
So they're downsizing their board then? Or-
Yeah, yeah. Half of us had to go off.
So is that something that will be on maybe a different time, like those alternate, or?
No,
I'm wondering, so
It's-
if the person that's more from our area, do they have an alternate for that person if they can't make it? Should somebody from our county be their alternate? Or is it gonna be an alternate from their county?
I guess I personally don't. It's a neutral argument, I guess, as to whether you should be on it. It's I have never run into a situation where there was, with the exception of maybe health insurance, but where there was,
Split vote?
well, not split vote, but preferences given over to one county to the other. It's really not even a county issue, you know, I mean, it's pretty cut and dried from the state, so it's really controlled from the state level. What this board does is basically take care of the physical structure. That's what it does.
So the Enterprise Zone Commission, does that ever meet? So I know, according to the federal government, we don't have any enterprise zones. I didn't realize we have this commission.
I don't think I've ever been to one.
You know, they've identified them in Cerro Gordo and Worth County. For tax credits. I don't know, every county had to have a commission just to qualify in case they change the rules. As far as you know, they've never met. Okay.
Prairie Ridge merger sign. Chemical Dependency Services, Prairie Ridge. Whatever.
You're on it.
I'm on it, but I
Oh.
don't remember ever getting any information. So on that compensation board wise, the supervisors get two, but
They'll each get one. So we're actually short,
unless, yeah, if you figure it that way, we would,
so this is kind of the middle ground. I assume you want to leave Lynn and, our representative that's up for renewal.
yes. I'll defer to you guys, because a lot of these go past next year anyway, so.
I don't see any changes we need to do this year, is there?
See there?
The only one that I have is that Title VI. It's not going to be doing that.
Where's
And then,
that
um,
Title VI, okay.
and then it has to be the chair. So we'll have to appoint the chair every year to that board.
Okay, I
But-
got me on there now.
So I did, we did a resolution that goes with this for the Title VI.
So the Title VI is that same thing, we have to have people sign in for
Yes.
every meeting.
Yep.
Well, other than re-upping people, I think I don't see any major changes this year. Probably the first two had that.
We don't even the Title VI one, we have to make a motion to appoint
Yeah, we need to
Scott and,
make a motion to appoint the
Scott and the chair.
Scott in the chair and then everybody that's on here. There's two.
All in one motion.
Yeah.
All right, so, so we're adding the Title VI. Okay. So I'll make a motion to, add the committee appointments of Title VI, of Scott Minders and Bill Jensvold, and along with reappointments with all the other,
Chairs.
reappointments of all the other identified people, and subtract Nivik from our list.
In the motion, did you have to have the my name or the chair? Doesn't mean the chair doesn't change, but it's not just do it every year. All right.
So, and then also, what was the other one? Do we want to identify
like the social services, it's gonna be changing halfway through the year, hopefully,
I think we can change it when it
just down an
comes to that
individual.
point, yeah.
Okay, all right. I guess that's my motion.
Second that.
Oh, yeah, just right. I have to do that.
Yeah, no, no.
On a motion from Derby and a second from Stenzer to appoint Scott Myers and Bill Tenfold to the Title VI and reappoint all the rest of the boards. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Approve county holidays for calendar year 2020.
This one we called
Number, we lost our little number sheet. It disappeared on this.
Not yet, or?
It hasn't been for a couple weeks now.
Let's see if Chris can print this one.
I just printed out new ones
Oh, yeah.
today because I put Lindsay's name on there.
All
So,
right, March disappeared here a few weeks ago. We've been in mass confusion ever since.
you're welcome.
I guess she changed her mind, she doesn't want to
Oh, okay.
choose the holidays.
Changes that need to be made, and anybody's
It's the same.
the same as ever, right?
Yep.
Make a motion to approve, county holidays as has been stated.
I'll second.
A motion Stenzer and a second from Derby to approve the county holidays calendar for the year 2020. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The only thing that I could bring up here is that, like, the state and us have some different holidays
Yeah.
that, so then the courthouse is open and nobody's here for the ones that are the state.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about that or not, but
Yeah, I've heard it.
This is 2020.
they're open, what is it? Martin Luther King or something, and we're open, they're closed. President's Day, yeah, something,
Yeah, so we're open, Martin Luther King,
no, yeah, we're open for Martin Luther King.
and they're closed for Martin Luther King.
Yeah, please.
Is there any other organizational duties? Okay. Move on to number 5, Julie Swenson, treasurer, to discuss with possible action abatement of U.S. fish and wildlife property and drainage taxes. All right. There she is. Mr. Joyce. calling you.
You didn't answer yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is the same thing we go through every year for the Fish and Wildlife. They never want to pay any of their taxes or drainage. So there's just a easier sheet to look at instead of all of the tax statements that we send them.
What is the reason for not having to pay?
Because they don't feel that they have to because of that Iowa code that I gave you.
All this?
Yep,
So,
they're exempt because they're federal.
okay, so is there a way to change this to where we don't have to go through this every year? That we never bill them? Or
That's something you'd have to talk
It kind
with.
of messes with our,
Yep.
the way we do our drainage billing. And
Yep, because this is like $22,000 worth that and they're not paying some of the taxes either. And it's all in Norway. I mean, that's where the property taxes that they're not paying. And then we have Center and Eden and Lincoln and Mount Valley, Forest City that,
So are we getting any pilot money?
we do get Fish and Wildlife money. And then I have divided it amongst these 4
Okay.
districts. But it's like $7,000.
So about a third of what we should.
Yeah, and that's not really considered pilot. This is Fish and Wildlife. They
Okay.
send us money in
But-
lieu of their taxes.
But is that from that pilot program?
It comes from the state of Iowa.
Taxes
Mhm.
on the federal level.
Yeah, and I thought you had said one time they were gonna change that, so they would have to pay.
Well, it's a battle every year.
Mhm. And at one time, we thought we were getting through to the drainage attorney that they had to pay, but I can argue with them every year and they still won't. I get the letter. And that's a lot,
Yeah. Well, I guess the question would be is, do they pay any other county? I would guess not. So
No.
it's not like-
A lot of the federal lands don't have drainage districts for one.
Yeah.
And we're in that area where we have a lot of drainage.
We met, Terry and I and a couple other auditors and a couple other supervisors met with Joni Ernst a couple of years ago to talk about this, but never really went very far.
It's one of them low on the priority list things.
You get out into Utah and it's lake priority. Because they've got, what, 3/4 of their land out there is in some kind of federal program. So they rely on that pilot program a lot.
Yeah, I even visited with DNR. I didn't know he was from DNR, and he was at the counter asking about some property up by Scarville. And so I just let him know that I'm kind of frustrated with the DNR because they don't pay taxes and they don't keep the land up. You know, there's trees and thistles and just a mess. So once I got my spiel done, then he finally told me he was the DNR. And he would go back with my concerns, but you know how far that goes too. They won't.
Mason City office then.
Des Moines.
Does that fall under federal or state?
Well, Fish and Wildlife is,
DNR.
yeah. Oh, DNR?
Yeah.
I would say that'd be federal. Or would that be
DNR would be
state?
state.
State.
I think it's a state.
But
I would think
this,
we'd have
Fish
some
and
power
Wildlife.
there.
Well, as far
This
as-
concerns federal.
It's kind of weird. Some of the DNR pay their taxes, some of them don't,
Right,
depending on what program they did it through.
yeah.
If it was done through probably some of the gun taxes and that,
And he was explaining to me that like years ago, the farmers sold their land to the DNR because they got such a great rate. Not realizing what was gonna come down later on. Well, now they're not gonna give, the DNR isn't gonna give the land back. And that was all done through the assessors years ago, that they got to transfer the land and got paid good money, and it doesn't
You know, the taxes is one thing, but not maintaining your property that causes other people have to maintain your property. That's not a very fair thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can see where the taxes is just kind of a circle, you know, money.
Yeah,
If
because,
they started paying the taxes on that, then we just have to pay more taxes to cover it.
because there's about 14,000, maybe 15,000 in drainage just here.
Yeah.
And then we'll have more from property that was sold up in Scarville to the DNR that has to come off. So it kind of hurts when you look at 22,000 dollars to take off the tax roll.
Well, I guess for this, there really isn't any discussion on this, so.
Yeah.
No. And I know I worked with Chris Oswald and we put these parcels in and take them out. And whether we just continue to leave them exempt, so they're not billed and in the process of dividing the total amount due, because then it's gotta go back to the customers anyway, landowners.
The delay matters, which is kind of a surprise to me.
About the payment of US Fish
And the thing was, I started,
I'll second the
taking,
motion.
taking these off in October. So I used Terry as the chairman, because I figured I would have been in here in October. So do you need me to change this to Bill then today? Okay, because Chris thought because I had the date of October on here, Terry could sign it.
So we didn't make the motion till this year.
Mm-hmm, okay.
Yeah, if we would have done it last week, or a couple days ago.
Yeah, I didn't realize you weren't coming in until today. And then, so I verified that with Chris, and she said because it was started in October, these are all October fees. So,
But what's the document say?
It's just-
Recommendations for abatement, yeah, so I'd say it has to be.
okay. So I'll just go down and change it then, and then come back and do that. Thank you.
Vote for that.
Go ahead.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Consider for approval amendment to Tyler contract for additional training.
Too much stuff today.
Was there gonna be an extra cost for the extra training?
Yeah,
It shows it on there.
well, he said only use what we need, but the
Yeah.
total would be $4,000, so.
Okay. Yeah.
If needed. Because this new financial affects the treasurer's office quite a bit, and it'll affect Chris Oswald as well. And all departments in my office use it, so. And I know that was one of the concerns with the other treasurers, that they didn't have enough training, enough time to learn it all.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to the Tyler Technologies contract.
Second that.
Motion Derby, second Stenzer to approve the amendment to Tyler contract for additional training hours for the treasurer. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
We don't have to stamp that one, so, or do we?
No, just need signatures.
This is by and then name. There's I. That you,
I filled and so print the second one.
okay. Not quite 9 o'clock.
What's your spiel?
Spiel,
Roads.
Roads.
Yeah, I was
not
gonna
much
say
of a
we
spiel
go.
today, we've had not a lot to report.
I have no clue.
I don't have it. Oh, I know one thing we talked about. You had sent some specifics for that urban renewal,
Yeah,
right?
sort of, vague specifics, if that's the thing.
That's something we are probably gonna have to try and have it on the agenda for tomorrow to put into the language. Those specifics. So that we can include it in this expenditures. So it'll be in addition to the agenda tomorrow.
Okay. What do you need from me on this?
Do you think he had enough information in there to give to Bob Johnson?
Not for the, well, he's got locations and he's got projects, so I
Right, so that
would
should be
think
good
so.
enough.
And then you said you wanted to do anything 60 days from
Right,
earlier than from December 17th. Anything 60 days before that could be used too.
How would that work? You just write a journal entry and change the expenses from secondary road fund to TIF?
I don't know how that would work right off the top of my head. Do some research.
Okay. For future things,
we can talk about that in the budget.
okay. So just for now, it's the
This year.
expended stuff. Okay, I had those line itemed out, so I guess it should be,
Because most of it's gonna be taken up by the repairs on the courthouse.
okay,
Your stuff will probably be the, part
That
of the
it
bill.
is, it fits.
okay.
Okay, 9 o'clock, Ethan Shutter, secondary roads, to discuss snow days in the handbook.
Let's call Mike before we start.
Okay,
9. And then we gotta go.
Hey, Carla.
Hi, Mike, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. We're here with the board and the secondary road guys, and then there's quite a few people in the audience.
Okay. Good morning, all.
morning. Well, what's your, what are you looking at?
Well, you're the one that called him, so why do we have to have Mike involved with this?
We're just waiting to see what you say.
Well, it's just the snow days that we discussed in like June or something like that.
The ones where the courthouse is closed, or you close the courthouse and the people are being paid and they don't have to take vacation and we still have to be out on the road. I get that. That's what we're there for. But they're getting a free day. I mean, they're not charged vacation or anything else. So if I have to take a day off, I have to take vacation or comp time or whatever. So I'm just wondering if we could be compensated for that if they close the courthouse. and they don't have to take any vacation or, comp time for that? I just wondering if we could be compensated for that.
It was 2 days all day and then 4 days.
Total of 25 hours.
Yep.
And that's your call, guys.
Well, either we just go to not closing the courthouse like a lot of other counties do. It's just, it starts to get,
Slippery slope.
yeah. So, and I guess the reason for closing the courthouse is because you don't want people to try and make it to work.
And I get that.
And you guys are,
Trying.
well, you're trained to be out in those elements where a lot of other people aren't.
Right.
And here's the experience of driving in weather that you guys do.
So I suppose it also affects other departments like the sheriff's department. Because they're still on.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, they're still out there too.
Jailers.
Is that Bill and Terry, this is Mike, is that Bill and Terry talking? I can't hear.
Yes. And
Yeah, and
Mark.
somebody asked why I was on the phone, and let me just suggest as to why I was on the phone is because the last time we had one of these, the union or the association hired an attorney, and we got letters and were threatened to be sued. So that's why I didn't know if this still involved that one, because I've never heard back after a conversation with that attorney. So I think that's why, just so we know what's going on in case there's going to be litigation, is why the board wants to have me on this call. Secondly, I think, Bill, you hit on it right. Most counties have went to a policy of not closing the courthouse for these kind of reasons, and that people start raising these issues, and secondary roads especially is hired to do these kind of jobs, especially when there's adverse weather conditions, and it's when they hire on, they know that that's going to be an expectation of the employment. The same way that you're going to deal with the secondary roads is probably even to a heightened extent, the sheriff's office as a 24/7 operation, essential personnel, that you cannot just say, hey, we're closing the sheriff's office. So the board will have some decisions on it's not just as it impacts secondary roads, it's going to impact everybody.
And I can certainly understand the unfairness of it too. I mean, it's they have a somewhat legitimate point. But if we, like you say, if we start going down that, it just seems like it would be a lot easier just not to close the courthouse and have everyone use their judgment or their vacation, on what they think they want to do, I guess.
That would seem the most prudent to me.
The other option, and what I've thought about, and I don't know if this is viable or not, but close the courthouse so the public stays off the road, and the employees that can make it in work, those who can't take vacation, but have the courthouse closed.
That's the way it's been for years. For where I've worked.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that always seems is that when I talk to boards about this is the big issue is number one, there's employees, but number two is if the road conditions are unsafe and you're getting that report from the engineer and you're getting that report from the sheriff's office and maybe local PD, is also to make sure that we don't have the public trying to get to the courthouse to do business because of the potential safety, because that's always a big issue that plays into the board's idea. And so I think what I heard you say was, and we haven't talked about this, but the courthouse isn't open for public business, but employees that can come in, there's always work to do. Otherwise, the rest of them use vacation. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
Or comp time or whatever?
yep. Because even when the courthouse is closed, I've always stayed late and worked. I've always been here. I know Scott's been here, and Doug's always here. I mean, there are people here working, because there, like you said, there is stuff to do. Just not everybody.
How big an issue has this been the last 5 years?
It wasn't, it's not that the courthouse is closed, it's just that people that don't come in are getting paid.
I understand the argument. How many times has this arose in the last 5 years?
You said 25
25 hours last year.
This last year was 25 hours?
That was a high year probably, just now, compared to the
Right.
5 years prior.
Right, yeah. And I don't know 5 years out, I couldn't tell you.
Well, you know, and what I would say is, we'll just really have to think hard about whether we close the courthouse or not, but if we do, well, do we make them use their vacation or do we allow what these guys want here? So if we do close the courthouse, in an extreme situation, are we gonna give them?
Well, if it's an extreme situation, I'm assuming you'll pull the plows off.
We still have to go to work though. I mean, even last year when it was like the worst snowstorm it's been in how many years, we were still at work. We still came in.
If you could.
We got everyone to work.
Yeah, and that brings up the question to me is, what's an extreme condition for some might not be an extreme condition for others. I mean, my
Well, we had
sister,
big
if it
maintainers
looks like it's
at
gonna
his
snow, won't drive on the roads, you know, so I mean, I just say we don't close the courthouse.
I have a question. So if we close the courthouse, why do they have to go in then? If you pull the plows, why do they have to be there? I mean,
We
wouldn't you
usually
want them?
we only pull the plows if visibility is really poor for a short period
Right,
of
but then
time.
shouldn't you send your guys on?
They're usually still there because it'll inevitably clear up a little bit so they can go back out in the next couple hours. So they're usually there.
I was just worried about their safety. Like, if you don't want nobody on the road, why do you want them there?
Yeah, like you said, these guys are trained and they have the equipment, but
I even, me, as far as that goes, I've got 3 million miles worth of driving experience in my semi, and I'm probably a little better at it than other people who have less experience. And those guys are even more so. I mean, I've ridden in the plow, and it's quite a quote whiteout situation when that blade hits and drifts. And so you gotta be able to use your peripheral vision, looking at the ditches and the
You gotta find stuff to
telephone
gauge.
poles. I mean, yeah, sometimes I blind myself up on them, and you can see a few of them to know about how far you need to go. Either way.
Sometimes looking straight out the window, straight down, yellow line.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't have GIS guidance out there.
I'd love auto steer, that'd be wonderful.
I asked the state plow guy, I said, how's your GIS guidance going? He says, it's like this, it's down. He says, that equipment's down by 8.
Yeah.
Or you get out and walk until you feel the ditch go down, and you're thinking, okay, I need to go this way.
Yeah.
I've done that before too.
Well, it's a tough call because, I mean, life isn't fair for one thing. And you're never gonna find a situation in an employment, from our perspective, where everything is equal. You know, it's impossible to make everything equal for employees. It really is. I'm open to whatever, you know.
Yeah, I suppose, and part of the issue, you know, he was thinking, going back to what happened before, we did just, take something away from them, not that any of us really wanted to do it, but we took it away because if we gave it to them, we were gonna have to give it to everybody. And we already taken out heat over raises and stuff, and, you know, there wasn't. Maybe that should have been left in place to be a reward for having to be there when the other people have their days off. But,
is there an option or a way to compensate them for the, hours from last year?
We can't go backwards. That doesn't make sense.
Or is there a way to compensate them for, any hours like that in the future?
That would probably be the only possibility, I would think. Mike, do you know anything about that?
About what? I couldn't
The
hear.
compensation for, they were looking for compensation for last fiscal year. I don't think we can address that, can we?
No, you don't, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, obviously, the books were closed as of June 30th.
Yeah, and that's probably more of an external auditor thing too. to
Yeah.
Look at that.
I'm sure it's probably legal to compensate them somehow, but it would just have to be. It's just that it was in last year's budget, so it's.
You can't compensate someone going backwards.
No, I mean, if you're gonna
There's probably a way to
you
do it.
you need to do a policy and you need to do it forward. Because right now, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, you don't have any policy that would provide for this kind of payment. So if the board determines that they want to do something countywide as it relates to this, then we would draft a policy, put it in the handbook, and it would only be compensation moving forward, not retroactive, because you would have no legal reason to compensate. There'd be no public purpose for the use of taxpayer funds to compensate somebody retroactively when there was no policy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we don't have to in a sense, but if you thought it was the fair thing to do, there's probably a way to do it.
But you would do it going forward.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that also pertain to the association agreement?
In what way, Mike?
Well, we have an agreement with secondary roads.
Sure.
You'd have,
We would amend that with them.
And then you'd make that the same for the sheriffs who are working in public health and
Jailers, dispatch.
Public health has been going along with the courthouse, when the courthouse, Julie?
Yes.
Isn't it true that you guys closed down when the courthouse closed down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we have emergency plan for our patients when we know bad weather's coming up. And so they are set up for 3 days.
So I was gonna say, I have a problem with keeping the courthouse open just for the purpose of fairness. I think it's a safety issue. I would rather,
I don't like it when my nurses are out and the snowplows get pulled and then we're not called,
yeah.
and my aides. And that has happened several times.
So I guess I would rather work out something with the road workers otherwise and maybe continue with our courthouse closing as it was before.
in compensating them?
And figure out some kind of a compensation plan.
No, we'll continue to compensate the courthouse employees.
I mean, yeah. Unless we come up with a plan where when we,
There's so many nuances to
You have to
this.
take vacation or comp time.
There's so many nuances to this that, you know, what does Winnebago do? Do they pay if they shut down? Do they pay the employees? I don't know. I don't think there's too many places if they shut down, they pay their employees.
But, yeah, and then there's the problem, some of the employees are getting paid when they shut down and some aren't. And,
whether you're salary or hourly.
and,
Some don't have enough vacation accrued, or some don't have enough comp time. So that kind of messes with their insurance then too, because you have to have so many hours
That's what I was
to keep
thinking.
your insurance.
Except unless they could make it up during the pay period.
Explain that to me again.
Well, you have to be full-time to get your full-time benefits.
Right.
And some people don't have enough comp built up or enough vacation built up if you have courthouse closed. So
I'd
then,
have to research that. I would doubt that would ever enter into it.
well, if you-
I'm not saying it can't.
you know what I'm trying to
There's
say.
leave without pay for 40 hours,
Yeah,
and they're still.
I was just gonna say, they just aren't gonna
So,
get
I mean, they would lose
paid at all.
insurance.
They're gonna get paid, courthouse closed, they don't have vacation to take, and they're just not gonna get paid like most other businesses in the world.
But you're talking about allow them to come in if they want to work. Is that what you're still thinking?
Well, a lot of, like she said, the people live here in town.
Right, that's what I mean, so
They usually
you would have to
it
make the
across town
decision.
because it's-
Yeah. But then would somebody who, like a nurse, doesn't have enough time, would they try to come in? And then you're risking the safety again,
Yeah, but that's in the eye of the beholder.
right? Right.
What's unsafe out there for me is terribly unsafe for my sister, you know, so I mean, I would go drive out the road, my sister wouldn't.
Right.
So, you know, how do we cover every contingency? Can't do it. We just can't do it. So
You guys are struggling with what a lot of board of supervisors have in the past, and they've come up with the exact conversation you guys are having right now. This has happened. You guys aren't unique in this. And really what most of them have come down to is, number one, they just leave the courthouse open and tell people that if they are unsafe, then they can use vacation comp or unpaid leave, or kind of the Carla's option that she laid out, the close to the public. If you can come in and work, you're more than welcome to, because there's always stuff to do. Or you can use, once again, paid leave, a vacation comp, personal day, whatever paid leave. If you do a survey of the counties, I think you will see that probably, I hate to always assess a percent, but it's well in excess of 3/4 of them, that's what they're probably doing, because of the same conversation and struggles that you guys are having right now.
You know, unfortunately, you gotta bring judgment, and even if it's bad enough, you just, you know, if you went out there and tried to make it, it isn't your own fault. But they're gonna try and blame it on us because the courthouse was open and you know, but you know, don't get me wrong, I don't want my family out driving on roads like that either, but sometimes it's your own personal judgment that is coming into question. You can't
Well,
make it.
can we shut the courthouse down and just say we're not paying? Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. You have that option. Now, when you say that, I'm thinking like you're saying we're shutting it down. We're not giving any just paid leave. We would let you use your vacation, your comp, because we would have to do that. They have that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any built up, you aren't gonna get paid at all.
Then it's an unpaid leave.
Well, to me, this sounds more like a conversation that should be had amongst all of you guys, not in front of us. Something you guys should figure out. Because it sounds like there's, well, they get it. How come we don't?
Our department, the question is, if we are gonna pay those employees, how do I compensate my employees equally? Is there an option for that?
Mike, does any of the other counties pay secondary roads some kind of a benefit for doing their job?
Carl, I hesitate to answer that because I'm sure there are some kind of stipends out there. I'm not aware of any right now that I could say this is what this county does, or this is. I'm just not. Of the 30-some that I work with, almost 40, I think most of them are doing the plan, one of the two options that I laid out.
What are the two options?
You wanna relist those two options?
Well, they number one, they don't close the courthouse anymore, and they tell people to use their best judgment. If you can come to work, we'll pay you, and if you cannot, then you have the option of using vacation, comp, or unpaid leave, or they close the courthouse down to the public, and then once again, say if you can come to work, that's fine. And then otherwise, those two options are really kind of the same, except one, you're open for actual business and you're not open for the public business.
So it seems like the only other option would be to continue paying like we are, and then for those hours that we pay for everybody else, to give my guys comp time in that amount, or, you know, some
But
equal
that's
amount.
not one of the options that he gave us.
So I think that,
And the other option is doing what you've done before in the past. I mean, there are counties that still do that, and they've just taken a hard stance that says we close the courthouse. There are certain groups that have to work. That's secondary roads to the extent, and the sheriff's office. And their position on that, some boards is look, that is during those crises, that's essential services. We're paying overtime or premium time for that in most instances. Sheriff's office, lots of times not, because it's just their regular shift, but for secondary roads, it's usually when there's snowstorm, it's going to go into overtime or some kind of premium time pays. And they've taken the position is when you took the job, you knew that that's what was going to happen, and we've been doing it that way for, you know, for a lot of years, and we're not going to change. So
This sounds like, go ahead.
well, I think, yeah, the first two options he said, which are the same option, are the only fair option for our fire department. The other one is unfair.
Isn't this something that probably should be brought up in our next agreement, association agreement?
It's a handbook issue.
typically when you have leaves, that's where you would negotiate that, right? And your contract or agreement contains leaves.
Mm-hmm.
We're, because of the contract, I would assume we're under legal.
That is correct.
We don't have to do it. It's just whether we want to be fair. But usually you guys, in the bad weather, you are at work, so you are getting paid. The only time it would really be unfair is if you guys couldn't make it to work and then you had to take a vacation day where everybody else doesn't.
Well, they're making it to work. The
They're
unfair
making
time
it to
is
work,
when
so
they're
they're-
working, nobody else is, and everybody's getting paid the same.
Everybody else is getting paid.
Yeah, it wasn't that the courthouse.
You're getting paid the same amount of money you normally would, you're just not, they're getting something for doing nothing in a sense.
Right.
Which isn't really the case, because if they missed a day, that means they've got that much more they have to do to make up, to keep up with the pace of, you know, which I mean, the public should be coming in, but, there are things that they have to maybe work a little extra hard afterwards to make up for it. But,
I think I would recommend closing to the public. If you guys want to close it, otherwise leave it open.
It's no different than my nurses have to work on holiday because it's their job, because they have to see patients, because that's part of their doctor's orders.
well, but they have to work on holidays too, so.
Exactly,
If it
but it's
snows.
their job.
I mean, you guys have to work on holidays.
Right.
It's not scheduled to work on holidays.
Our deal isn't,
They're scheduled.
we don't care if the courthouse closes or that we have to go to work. It's just that we have to go to work and the courthouse is closed, they're getting paid not to be there. So we just,
Some of us.
if you're not at, what?
I gotta ask
I
you,
understand that.
why does that bother you so much? You took this job, okay, you knew what the parameters were. What should it matter what anybody else in this whole world is making? You
So-
took this job.
If you get to stay at, if you get to stay at home and you get paid for it, is that?
But you know what, you guys get benefits too, like, in the summer, you guys get.
Some of
to work
them, they just get
4/10s,
taken away every
And
year.
then you can get Fridays off, so you guys get a 3-day weekend all summer long.
Still
That
work the
would be
same hours.
really awesome, but you know what, we'd like to do that too, but that's not the way the world works.
I think this is easy to make fair. I mean,
Yeah,
so, that's my position.
Is there some way, Mike, to come up with some kind of a meeting it halfway where if they can't make it into work, instead of taking, and we close the courthouse for business, and they can't make it into work, where we give them 2 for 1, for every hour, they only have to take a half hour of vacation? Or is that too complicated?
That's too complicated.
Who would it apply to though, Terry?
The people that are in, would be anybody that currently is allowed to stay home and get paid. So it's anybody in the courthouse, anybody in the public health, and I suppose the county conservation, and anybody that has been going by that policy.
where you'd have to use, say it's an 8-hour day, you'd have to use 4 hours of vacation, comp.
If we close
Whatever.
the courthouse to business, if they can come in and work safely, then they get their full pay for the day.
Right. If they can't, then if they use 4 hours, then they get 8 hours of pay.
I lost you on that one.
Well, you're talking 4 hours of paid vacation and, but they're only gonna use 4 hours, but they're gonna get paid for the whole 8-hour day.
Right.
But how does that address your secondary roads issue?
It doesn't.
I agree with Scott. I think the second option is probably,
But then it kind of puts people that don't live in town at a disadvantage.
Well, there again, it's,
That's
how can you
where
be
they
fair
choose
to
to
everybody?
live.
yeah,
They can probably move here if they want to, I guess.
You can come stay in town like county guys do. I mean, there's guys that stay at the county shed just so they make it to work, like I said.
like Kevin Williams, he sleeps in the break room if he knows it's gonna be bad weather.
I mean, and just remember, I just want to remind the board, and I think you guys know this, is I'm going to be a broken record on this. If you're going to do something different here, then remember there's an impact in the sheriff's office. And I'm sure maybe there's some other places too that there's an impact. So you're talking about not just an isolated, you know, and you know, if you wanted to do something like a comp day or something like that, that's a bigger impact over in the sheriff's office for staffing and for days to then, when people are using those days, to come back with overtime.
Can we do a show of hands in here? Who likes version 1 or 2? I like Carla's idea. It's closed to the public, so we don't have the safety of them coming in. If we can make it, great. If we can't, we take vacation or comp time. Done, end of story. Everybody in agreement? I mean, who's in agreement with that one?
And if you don't wanna take vacation, you don't have any comp time or anything built up, you just don't get paid.
Then you just don't get paid for the day. It's happened, what, 3 times in the last couple of years? First years I worked here, we never closed. There was never enough snow. I mean, we're talking minimal time here.
And before last year, I think it was like a afternoon here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're discussing a lot of stuff for nothing.
Or
I know,
open late.
State government does it that way. You just take vacation or comp time.
That's what Kara, up in the clerk's office, you know, if we close, then she's stuck having to take vacation because
Right.
Just so the board knows, I don't think the DOT has any of this policies. Maybe the guys in roads know better than I do, but from my days back with the Department of Transport, when I worked for the state, I don't think DOT gets any benefit when there's any disclosure on the state campus.
So we'll probably, if we're gonna go this route, we're gonna have to draw something, some wording to approve then.
Yeah, so
Just change the policy.
For my purposes, I think that's Terry. You know, I can work on drafting whatever you want, but I need to know what you guys want to do. And I'm not asking you to make that decision right now, but what would happen procedurally is the board would say, we kind of want to go down this road. You communicate that to Carla, Carla would tell me, and then I would draft some language, and then you'd have another meeting, or not a special meeting, but another one of your meetings, a review of the policy.
With all departments.
Yeah, well, you just do it at a public meeting, and they can come and provide comments.
Isn't it as simple as just changing the policy?
Yeah. But I'm saying you gotta modify the language.
Okay.
And the board will have to vote on it.
Is there anything in our policy right now that identifies the closure of the courthouse?
Handbook.
Doesn't went
I don't know, Carl, I defer to you on that. I was out today, so I don't have my policies in front of me.
I don't have it with me either, but I think it's I'm not even gonna say what I think, 'cause I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter, we're changing it, so.
Yeah. All right.
So we want to do option 2, is that the consensus?
You want closed for business?
Okay, so I'll work with Mike and get something drawn up and we'll bring it back.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Gone out of our lives.
Scott left, he still has number 5.
What's that?
Number 5 for Scott.
It's 8, number 8, you mean? We already did that right before, he said he did nothing, so.
Well, I copied and pasted it, spread it out, and just thought maybe.
All right.
You got number 6.
Yeah.
I have those salaries that he
I
requested.
was just gonna say, he left before the salaries were on here.
I have them somewhere. Probably. Excuse me.
Is anybody waiting for open forum? You're gonna be here anyway, right?
I am gonna be here, yep.
Because we haven't talked about drainage.
Yeah, really.
Luckily, she just left.
All right, number 9, consider for approval fiscal year 2020 salaries for county engineer's office.
We're proposing to match the elected officials' raise as we have done in the past, 4%.
This is for 2020.
This is for 2021, it was a typo. I caught that a little too late to get on the agenda, so apologize for that. No, we already have our 2020 set.
Your engineer's office, where are they compared to other engineers' offices?
Oh, well,
The reason they give us a 4% raise and the rest of them more is because we're quite a ways behind the 8 ball when it comes to other surrounding counties as far as compensation.
yeah. I've brought those numbers every year but this year, I guess. Some are they're all right in line. Maintenance superintendent somewhat ahead. Obviously, as Mark is very experienced, been here for a long time. Becky too has put in quite a few years. Eric is, of course, set back a little bit because he's new. Thinking that this is the 6th time I've done this, I think we've always stuck with the elected official numbers, whatever they are.
This year was an aberration.
It'd be hard to single out 3 people from everybody else in the courthouse, I think.
Well, the whole secondary roads department, their contract was 3%, if I remember right.
Sure, I know all the contract employees would be different.
Opinion on it?
We have to decide.
Well, I understand go ahead, I'm sorry.
I guess, I was wondering, do we have to decide today, or is this something we can,
Usually we do everybody's all together in May or something like
well,
that, so.
what I'd like to know is comparables. What are the comparables? I haven't seen any comparables in the area and how we compare.
We've looked at those numbers in the past. And if it like, it hasn't been a factor in the past as to whether we go with the elected official raise number or not.
Well, the raises have usually been 3% or less, usually they've been. What did the elected officials get last year?
Most 3%, I think.
What was it, 3?
And that we got 4 because we were so far down.
Yes. And if you're not far behind,
She got more last year. She did 1 year before.
yeah, well, that, she's still,
Yeah. Well, just my opinion, I'd like to see more clarification of why it should be 4%.
Becky used to give me a printout of statewide, secondary roads, everything.
Sure, I have that, and I can get it to you.
we'll take this one till next week then. We'll get a chance to look at that information. Even if you do that, that should be good. Okay, you've all been on the edge of your seat for this. Auditor's office will discuss drainage matters.
I don't really have anything. I did come up with, when I went out with Jacobson Westergaard one day, he showed me this form that they do every time they go out to a job site. So I made one, just so I can know what districts I can bill if I'm out and about, whatever. But you guys.
Just replace the other one.
No, this is just for me, just so I can keep track of what I'm doing, so it keeps me accountable and I know which district I can bill for timing wise or whatever, so.
So you want this to originate with us?
I mean, if you have any suggestions for it or anything, feel free.
No, I don't understand.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, I'm just
but
showing you.
You want us to, like, put in the district and all that?
I'm going to.
You're going to?
I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
Yep.
we would just.
And that way I would show you guys what I've been doing. Yeah, yep.
All right.
Other than that, the main tile, DD11 main tile, we're still waiting on a couple wetland determinations, but to mitigate it right now is going to cost a lot. Rick told me it's about $15,000 an acre. The district usually pays half and the landowner pays half. So I have one landowner that would probably pay $150,000. And we're waiting for one more landowner, and then I will get those numbers together. I want to have another informal hearing to show everybody what they're going to pay for the estimated project, what they're going to pay for the mitigation, just so everybody knows. So it's going to be a lot. So that's all I know today.
All right, Dave, do you have anything for drainage?
It was very informative.
Well,
Time for
Short, just so we want.
We didn't have our nap.
I have one. DD 14, we just cleaned out that ditch.
Yeah.
At the end of that ditch, it's almost right at the fence line, or close to the fence line. There's a surface drain coming right into the end of it that has a hole in the pipe.
Hole in it?
So it's impassable almost next to that fence line. To get to it. So I talked to Helgeson.
Okay, because he
He
did
went
it.
out there and looked, and of course, being next to the fence line, it's covered in snow and everything.
Right.
So, that probably.
Are they going to get to it though?
Well,
At some point, they're going to get to
Yeah.
it. Okay.
I was gonna, I want to get the landowner out there first to identify exactly where it is. So it's a pretty good sized pipe.
Okay. I'll make a petition up just so I have it.
5 foot long.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
all right.
okay, number 11, open forum.
Okay, so this might seem kind of petty to some people, I don't know. But everybody knows that Hayden Fry passed away. And everybody knows that the flag was flown at half-mast for a football coach. and I'm not sure if the flag should fly at half-mast for a football coach. There's a designation about heroes, and I don't think football coach is a hero by the tradition, by the true sense of the word hero. And if you read where I highlighted here, I thought it came out, but it doesn't. It says, we're not required to do it just because Governor Reynolds says we should do it. It says in there she's requesting us to do it. And I think we should have some sort of a guideline in the county that says when we should and should not flag half-mast.
I'm gonna admit that the word hero is used in a lot of places where
Exactly.
it does not.
And it just cheapens the word.
Yeah, well, and it cheapens the true
Yeah.
heroes.
Exactly.
The ones that have really put their life and limb at risk.
I've talked to several veterans about it, and they all felt the same way, and and I'm not blaming anybody here. I'm not trying to say that. I just think we need to have some sort of a guideline about it.
My biggest angst is politicians who try to label heroes.
Well, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
when 9/11 happened, that's one thing. When the Challenger blew up, that's something else. When a veteran from World War II comes home to be buried, that's another thing, you know. But
Well, they don't even get
exactly.
The people in the buildings are victims now.
Yeah.
The people, including some of the people that were in the building that tried to rescue others, stayed to risk themselves.
Yep.
Those are the heroes.
Yep. Exactly.
Which includes a whole bunch of the people that worked in that building.
I'm behind you, Dave.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
So would this be part of the policy book? Or
You know, I
is this
haven't
just
looked
a
into that.
resolution?
Probably just a resolution is all we would need, I suppose. Are you looking at something specific? Did you have like here's what?
There is a guideline. Quite honestly, Governor Reynolds overstepped her boundaries. She doesn't have the authority to say the flag should go to half-mast. She has the authority to do an Iowa flag. And if they want to honor Hayden Fry, which I think probably needs to be done maybe, but then they should lower the banners at the University of Iowa and not the flags themselves, you know. If they have a University of Iowa flag and they want to lower that in his, you know, that's up to him. But she doesn't have the authority to lower the United States flag. She can lower the Iowa flag, not the United States flag.
But I don't know that it would make much of a difference whether it's a resolution or a policy, like in the handbook. I can look into that if you
A lot of
want.
Iowa State fans may have been celebrating. That was just a joke for those who.
But you would just need a specific language of here's how we're going to determine when it's lowered. Or we're just gonna follow the, whatever guideline it is that Dave's talking
Federal
about.
policy or
Say it again, sorry.
federal policy or state policy?
There is, when I first became irate over this whole thing, I called the Veterans Affairs office and talked to one of the people down there, Cindy, and she had a book and tells, you know, it's pretty specific, says when the flag goes to half-mast, and it's when the president dies or a sitting governor or something like that. There's some specific rules of when the flag should go to half-mast.
And I haven't seen that, but
And
you
we
could
can
certainly,
get that,
right,
yeah.
and you could certainly use that to help draft a policy or resolution, I would think, if that's what you're wanting to do.
Well, I'm sure he made an impact on his players, but I didn't know the man, so he just sounds very cruel, but it doesn't really make any difference in my life whether he's gone or not.
And you're right, and I didn't know the man either, but I gotta believe that if somebody said, when you pass away, Hayden, we're gonna lower the flags to half-mast, he would laugh at him. I mean, I truly believe that. And I think people just get sucked up into the word hero, and they're not using it correctly.
Back when he was coaching, I didn't really care for him.
I think, you know, for us, it's just better if we follow that one set of rules and go with that.
That'd probably be the easiest way to do it, the cleanest way.
Yeah.
Problem is, right now, when the governor sends a thing, we put it at half-mast, who's gonna keep track of it? I mean, somebody gonna tell me, okay, today we're not gonna lower it, even though the governor says?
I think
and
they
then-
will, if there's
For the next year, Dave will.
And we're going back?
But you're not, what I said was the governor doesn't have the authority to say lower the flags to half-mast.
Well, aren't you autonomous? Can't you do what you want in your building?
No.
I think you can, can't he?
In what respect, I guess?
He's the head of the sheriff's department.
Right.
So I mean, whether he wants to put it at half-mast, that's his decision, correct? It's not
Well,
our
in the
decision.
sheriff's office, are you talking about out here though?
I'm talking about the courthouse grounds.
Yeah,
You know,
any,
it should never have happened in the courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
That's what I'm
That's
talking
different
about.
then.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But Governor Reynolds doesn't have the authority to say drop the United States flag to half-mast,
Just the Iowa flag.
just the Iowa flag.
So like if some only politician passes away, they can lower the Iowa flag, they don't have to lower the United States flag. I'm behind that.
The Constitution specifically states the president shall have the authority to raise or lower the flag as seen fit by the president and the congressional rules of order. The governor only has the right to lower the Iowa flag, just like the Missouri governor has the right to lower the Missouri flag. We had situations in Arizona where we had to somehow finagle the Arizona flag at half-mast when our senators passed away, like McCain and things like that. You lowered it down, but the flag stayed high. The United States flag stayed high until the president said, "Okay, lower that too." So we were told to do that as a government entity, and we followed it. But Napolitano never ever had the right to lower the American flag at all, because she represented only Arizona, not the other 49 states.
You want to word it for us?
yeah, he
I'll get
did,
it
yeah, yeah, I can put something together.
Anything else broken for them?
Yeah.
I would like to say
you
thank
for bringing
you.
that up.
Yep, and thank you for hearing me out.
Never thought of that. You are correct.
Terry, did you get this?
Yes, I did. I figured we can address that later. We got like 5 months to look at that, do something with it, so. I think we have to do something at some point.
Okay.
The rest of this is boring.
So where's your, swine grown to finish facility? This is for Dave Peterson here. DNR America, you know, I know you've been dealing in bowl for a lot of years.
Which would be just a little bit lower than my interest in drainage. That's a different Dave Peterson.
We've got to protect drainage.
Once you get all this stamping done, I forgot. I think I had to do this last week, right? So can you set up that day you paid? This is all the payroll that, because we didn't have a meeting last week, so we need to stamp it and print.
What's today or?
Well, the back day, you get to stamp it because we get today's date, Billy, so you get to pick.
I mean, we're covering, it's clear that we didn't have a, we are removing it after that. I would think.
Just, yeah, okay.
Day's not over yet. Right there.
We don't stand.
No, we don't just look at it. We don't just start received or anything like that.
This is
It's new to me.
No, that's, I don't even, it's almost an official.
You want to see it?
I know where it is. It's a spicy coffee.
me?
Yeah. That's a nice smell.
Just even put it on the bowl setting, so.
That's okay.
Oh gosh, not pumpkin spice, I know that.
pay request 21 and 22 to the Randall Construction LLC.
I think that's over on the top there, Terry.
Um,
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we have much of an option.
Yep.
Two separate ones. I'll make a motion to approve the pay request for number 21 and 22 for Randall Contract LLC.
I'll second it. A motion Derby and second Jennifer to approve as a pay request number 21, 22 for Randall Construction LLC. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Is there a reason this is attached onto it?
That's the one we said that we would approve him to purchase a stone.
Yeah.
Because it's not technically in a change order yet, so.
Yeah. We had to add an offer, it's gonna get more expensive.
That's it. You want the stamps on the front page of these or on the?
As long as it's someplace I don't, wherever it's done.
Okay, number 13, consider for approval of county claims.
I'll make a motion to approve the county claims.
Second that. Motion Derby and second Sandrew to approve the county claims. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Number 14, consider for approval payroll claims.
Approved. Assume they're okay.
Yes, I'd rather just wait.
Okay, so, pull that off. I think it's not quite changed.
I changed it, so I don't know if you guys wanna stamp them approved and Bill sign it.
We don't have to, I don't think we have to stamp it, it's all printed out. That's what we can do.
Yeah, approve it, I
You want
think,
the stamp?
please.
All of them or just one?
No, all of them, because they're all different for different years. And I can bring copies down here.
think there's 4 of them. You got a sign here too.
Really? Yep. Eric, did you steal my pen?
Yeah.
I had a pen in here when I,
Haven't heard anything all morning. I can get back, I wrote a sticky note, but I used to read it in my office. Is that your pen?
not that one.
Somebody's gonna get the pen for your pen.
Somebody's gonna get in trouble.
Check the
You have a
screen.
tracking device on it?
No, but I'm thinking about getting one.
There's certain tools I have back in my shop, I've thought about putting tracking, just to make it easier finding for one.
I should do that for my kids. It may not be anybody else in this place.
Well, I didn't say it was in my case, I just can't, I got too much area, so
Where did I lay that down at?
3 locations.
My uncle, my dad, when I was growing up, if his tools were missing, he'd drive over to Uncle Dennis's house and it's usually there.
We don't have the road departments,
I haven't brought it up yet.
well, it's from a week and a half ago, I would think it would have been looking.
She's 75. 32.
Maybe they were holding back, hoping they could come. It wouldn't be after the fact.
Engineer's office, this is Eric.
Yeah, Eric, do you know if Becky has the payroll claims down there somewhere?
I believe Scott's bringing it up to you shortly.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Wow. My mistake.
Alright, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Just taking the teletransporter. Teleporter.
Wow, you know, now that's the chair. There's,
Oh, Lord.
Give him a different size hat.
he called.
The rest of us are gonna need hip waders.
Yeah,
So, are you gonna be getting all the correspondence from the White House now, or?
oh, yeah.
I think I get enough of it.
Donald's got me on speed dial, ask for advice all the time.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, we're supposed to have something at 10, but
Well, that's what
Oh, yeah, that's right, it is.
Chelsea was saying. What I was wondering is if it would be a possibility for the conference board to meet the 21st for my budget. We've been doing 11:30 or what works for you guys?
21st is a Tuesday, is it?
Mhm.
Why not, 11:30?
Does that work for you?
Put her down, 21st.
Perfect. So I gotta be in Des Moines in the school a week in between there, so I wanna get it started. Awesome, thank you.
Now that you brought that up, hey, the department head meeting, are we planning on other things that day to fill out today, or?
It's, well, so we didn't have to post it, we just put one of you, I just invited one of the supervisors.
Cause I have a dentist appointment at 2:00.
Can maybe
Bill, he's the
Bill
chair,
or
so-
Mike, maybe one of you guys.
What's that for?
Department head meeting,
When is it?
the
Next
7th
Tuesday.
at 2.
Tuesday at 2.
Are we not having one this afternoon?
It's the 7th.
Oh, I had the wrong day.
Keep up with.
It's today.
Are you chair now? Is that correct? Okay, so I'll update my stuff. Thank you.
Yeah. Dave? You know that.
Sorry. We try not to run too far behind here.
All right, well then, 10:05 a.m. discussion of possible action regarding law enforcement contracts to city officer. I thought John was gonna try and be here, but, he was gone in his truck.
Okay. Well, so this is what I've got, guys. This is the contract that we did back in October, for the city of Buffalo Center, that they signed. And, if you read it, it'll say that the contract is up December 31st. So this is the letter that I sent to him, the day after Christmas, stating that we weren't gonna respond to calls over there any longer, because we had not heard anything from him. With also the ability to contact us to renegotiate a contract if he wanted to do that. And he apparently never wanted to do that, because we haven't heard anything from him. To this day, we haven't heard anything from him.
Yeah, well, I talked to him, so.
So what did he say?
Well, they're in good faith trying to find someone, but then he's also, they're interested in, especially when I told him that, you told me that the new deputy that you would hire, you would try and have them be located out of Buffalo Center. Currently, Ray is where it really needs to be, but,
Yep.
and he, you know, when I told him that, he thought he was good with that, and possibly just signing a contract with the sheriff's department without having their own policeman. As long as, two of them would be around there, so if one was gone out of town, one would still be there, so Buffalo Center would still have. And if they contract with you guys, it would be like 40 hours a week, would it, like they're?
That would be up to him as far as how he wants to draw that contract up. You know, we can do whatever, but it's gonna make the cost vary also.
And I explained to him how, you know, basically Buffalo Center has been getting by pretty easy because you know, they provide their 40-hour guy, and when he can't be there, the sheriff's offices come in without being contracted for years.
Yep.
And then I pointed out how if you do the math on percentage of population to number of officers, that if you figure it out as a percentage of population for City or Lake Mills, it comes out to 1.97 policemen Buffalo should have compared to Forest City, and 2 point something for Lake Mills. And like 4, I think it was, or 3. But, so technically all these years, Buffalo Center should have been providing 2 officers. And to get the kind of service that we've been getting because the county has been taking care of a lot of that stuff. I know they do some of it with comp time with their own officer and stuff as far as.
So we had a board, or a council meeting back in October,
I
probably.
think it was, yeah.
Actually, when he signed this contract, whatever
Yeah.
that was. And I told him that we were not gonna take calls. If they hire their own officer to do their 40-hour work week, we're still not gonna take those after-hour
And
calls.
I explained to them how even if they did get their own policeman, that they should still have to contract with the county for the extra hours. And you guys can get a rough estimate of what that would be.
Yep.
In order for it to be fair. I says, because if Lake Mills or Fort City their police departments were being subsidized by the county, the sheriff's office a little bit, then we would think it was fair. And, you know, they ain't fair, shouldn't think it's fair for us either, I guess.
I think one thing they didn't really, sorry Dave, but one thing they didn't really understand is the difference between being the primary officer being called to the scene and assisting. Because at that council meeting, they brought up, well, of course the deputies assist Fort City and Lake Mills. I mean, we do that all the time for any of the police departments. But being an assisting officer is way different than being the primary.
Because they've always got an on-duty officer that's
Correct.
taking
They're
the brunt of
24/7
the
and- yeah.
paperwork and all that stuff.
Yeah, when you're an assisting officer, you're not making the arrest, you're not investigating. I mean, it can be a.
I got an email from Brett the other day, and he said that there's an individual here in town, Dustin Buck, who says he's gonna work for the city of Buffalo Center, 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, and they're gonna pay him X amount of dollars, 9 to 5, and then we're gonna take anything after. So I don't know if there's any truth to that.
I haven't heard that it's gone to that extent where they're gonna hire. All I was told is that they would look into it.
Okay.
And there is no real, financial savings by doing that.
Well, they're gonna
Unless
go
they
further
just
in the
do it on
hole.
a
It's gonna
temporary
cost them,
basis.
it's gonna cost them a lot more money, because not only will they pay him for his 40 hours, they're gonna pay us for anything after that we go out. My guys have been instructed, we're not taking calls over there anymore unless it's a life-threatening emergency or a sexual assault type of thing. And John David is gonna be the one that's contacted to handle that call.
Yeah, and that part of it is what kind of ruffled feathers over there.
I'm sure it did, but what else can we do, Bill? That's my question.
I mean, because the option was give us contact information. If you don't give us contact information, calls will be directed to the mayor, because the
And I
concern
don't know if
was
they ever
no
thought
contact
about
information would be given.
Contracting with the sheriff's department for the extra stuff. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That sounded like something that they had never, hey, maybe they had, but the opinion I got of it when I was talking to them about it, they didn't realize that maybe it may have been an option.
Well, I know I'm the third sheriff that's tried to contract with them. Sheriff Lopez, Sheriff Jensen, and myself. And
I explained to them how it would be to both Buffalo Centers and the county's advantage to have them contract with the sheriff's department.
myself and Rick Caldwell went over and interviewed when they hired Holmquist. We don't have any grudges against Buffalo Center. It's just, we're tired of being taken advantage of, is what it amounts to.
How will it affect you, if they do go into a contract with you, like all the other cities, how will it affect your staffing?
We would have to hire another staff member, and they would pick up half and we would pick up the other half. And then that would increase our hours in the Buffalo Center area, and it would increase the hours in the rest of the community and the rest of the county also. Right now, we try really, really hard to have 24-hour people. Sometimes it's a struggle when somebody's on vacation or whatever, but we try to have 24-hour law enforcement all the time, and we do a pretty good job at it. And this would certainly be an asset.
I remember a couple of years ago when we didn't have the extra person we have now. That was a struggle.
Yeah,
Lots of overtime, lots of extra staffing, and
we'd go home at 2:00 in the evening, or in the morning, you know, and then take calls for 4:00. And that's back before they were getting paid for on-call time. You know, we would just go home, sit there, and take calls. So it would be a benefit to us and to Buffalo Center both.
Yes. It would allow you guys to have another officer for whatever emergency comes up. And,
Yep.
and Buffalo Center at the same time is gonna be covered for whatever comes up, and if the emergency's there, that's, of course, that extra officer would be going there.
Yep. But you know, I had this heart issue and I was off for 3 months and I'm still on light duty now. Mike Dressler's gonna go to a school next week that he has to go to. It's a jail school that everybody's required to go to. And everybody will do that. Everybody on the sheriff's department, jailers and deputies both will do that. That's a requirement. So those things all continue to take place, whether, you know, we're down a man or have an extra man, you know. And I don't want to use the term extra man, but full staff.
And I guess the main question for today is, would you be willing to extend this contract for at least another month or so until we get settled as far as what direction they're gonna go? Because they gotta talk to the rest of the, I've only talked to John and Deb. I have not talked to the rest of the council members out there for the council. Can we extend this contract for another month and then in good faith negotiate and come up with a solution that's will work for everybody?
I don't have a problem with that, but the term good faith sometimes doesn't always work, because while we were doing that in good faith, working the last 3 months, they were busting their butts trying to undermine us and get somebody else hired before.
Well, they have some legitimate reasons for having their own. You and I discussed that over the phone the other day.
Yeah.
And
the city,
they've softened on that since that stance, since I told them that the new deputy could be located in Buffalo Center. And that, you know, if you take the whole share, their whole department's budget, I says it shouldn't cost the city much more to have you guys take care of it.
exactly.
Or maybe probably less.
I was gonna say it'd probably be less.
And put with it that way, John seemed to be, and I don't want to speak for him, but that's I talked to him, he was in his truck, I talked to him on the phone. He just happened to call in while I was in Deb's office talking to her. And talked to him, he stopped his truck and he was talking to me, and we should get him.
Well, I know the city of Grimes, and I'm sure it's Grimes, they contract with the county law enforcement. Costs them $1 million a year, but it's still cheaper for them than to provide their own.
Well,
and that's a huge city.
And you and I discussed that too. I mean, it really would cost the whole county less, all the taxpayers less, if the sheriff's department ran it all. Because you don't have to have 3 chiefs.
Yeah.
You just have to have 1 sheriff and deputies. And I mean, it does make some sense to do that. Now, there are good reasons that cities want to have their own independence, I'm sure.
Have the control.
Yeah.
So just to chime in, my one concern with a 1-month extension is if they're still trying to get their own police officer, a police officer is not going to be hired within a month.
Yeah, and I just shoot 1 month.
Yeah, no, so that's the only thing that pops into my mind is that.
Is that we're going to be able to work something out between Buffalo Center and the sheriff's department.
Okay.
And in the meantime, John doesn't want to be taking on calls. And I think it would, I'm hoping that, I mean, it sounded very positive to me that something could be worked out with the sheriff's department.
Do you know when their next council meeting is that they could approve even a 1-month extension, if that's what is decided?
Well, I mean, the main thing would be is if something comes up now, that the sheriff's department would take the call, even if it, because you guys said you weren't going to come. So if there is something, I mean, until they've got it signed, you guys will still, because it is going to be signed.
We can.
They need an extension either way, in a sense.
Well, they do need an extension now, but
get it. You know, I mean, if they are going to hire their own, I mean, it's still kind of like, you know, having another deputy, because
Matt has taken many calls to rake and.
No, he hasn't taken many calls to rake. He's taken a few calls to rake, but he doesn't take many calls to rake.
Well, I mean, there are times when the Buffalo Center Police Department does,
Has
It's
responded.
rare.
has helped out, as does Cassup.
Yep.
They've been there too, so.
But we don't depend on him to do that.
No, it's
You know,
only
it's-
when you need him, and if you're
Right.
lucky, he's around when you need him.
Yep.
I mean, it's a hit and miss thing.
Yep.
It would be for that part of it there, because like Matt, when he wasn't around, there was nobody.
Right.
It's, and if they contract with the sheriff's department, there always will be something. And,
Right.
and I think they can do it, and, but if you figure the whole budget for their chief of police, the car, and all the equipment and stuff like that.
Benefits.
It should cost them less to contract and have the same amount of service, if not, actually probably more.
Well, because I think you figured out how many hours Matt was working, and this wasn't against Matt, because by any means, but I think what we figured was 36 hours a week.
He was averaging
on
about
average.
36 hours a week.
So,
That is because he was probably, taking, I don't know if he was comp time or whatever it was, like when he went out, extra hours, they didn't pay him in a sense for those extra hours, if I understood it right, they gave
this
him.
would be all
This
of
was
the
all of
hours
his
he
calls,
worked.
all of his calls.
Every time he clocked in.
Yep, when he'd go 10-8, it's all logged on the radio log, and
Yeah.
when he goes 10-7, it's logged in, and he was averaging 36 hours, 36.
36.
So,
Then I know there was, so when he takes a call in the middle of the night, does he have to call in and log in? So you guys know that too.
Yep,
It would include every second.
that's his time clock,
Yeah.
So if he's putting in overtime or something, that's his time clock.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was something just Buffalo Center took care of, but that's on the dispatch level.
I'm not opposed to doing another month, but we can't wait until the 29th of January and say, something's got to start moving, and is what it amounts to, because quite honestly, they've had 3 months to deal with it already.
Well,
And
it's hard to find. It's low unemployment around here, and sometimes what's left isn't exactly what you want to be as your chief of police.
Well, and I think the problem was, though, they didn't come and say, towards the end of December, what they should have done is come and said, can we renew? And they didn't make any contact whatsoever with the sheriff's department.
And my guess is that it's just one of those things that they get done because everybody else has got things to do besides. The mayor's position isn't something where you're getting paid full-time. And it's one of those things that's just easy not to do because you don't want to have to deal with it. I don't think there was any intent. It's just something they should have done, yes.
So if there's not a contract, but we're still honoring the contract, are we gonna get paid or not?
That was
Yeah,
my
we are.
primary concern.
Once you've signed it, it should be retroactive back to the.
Right, once we have a signed
Yeah,
renewal
once we have a
contract.
signed contract, it should be retroactive back to where.
And I think because we did 3 months, and I think they were right on as far as getting them paid for those 3 months. And we will continue that then.
But at this point, we don't have anything signed with them saying they're going to pay. That would be my concern, is if we're going to start services again, say today, but we don't have anything signed saying they're paying, that would be a legal concern of mine.
Well,
Because you talked to John, but John's not the one that makes the decision. It would be the council that needs to vote on it. We have no idea what their thought is. I'm not saying they won't go along with it,
yeah,
but if there's nothing in place saying, we're providing services,
I
you're
would
paying
I would
us.
like to think that there was nobody on that council that would vote to not pay for services that they got.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In
I would hope
in a
so.
legal
Yeah.
sense, could they say, no, we don't want it, they want it to be, but I don't think they're gonna do that. I mean, you guys are, even if they end up hiring their own, you guys are doing them a favor by continuing those services until that happens. But my guess is that we can work something out.
Okay.
Sheriff's Department, so,
Then I don't have a problem with it. We'll go until the 31st of January.
all right.
Without a contract or
Well, we need to
We gotta have a written contract.
put forward a contract
Yeah.
for them to.
basically just be a
exactly sure.
1-month renewal
Yep.
of the
The
temporary
contract will
one that
expire
we
the
have.
31st.
Which week did they have their meeting?
I can't remember, that's why I wondered when.
Yeah,
I was thinking it was the third.
the second week, is it? I wanted to say the second or the third, but I think the second week, second Wednesday. So.
It'll be next Wednesday.
It'll be next
Wednesday,
Wednesday, so
right.
it's in the near future anyway, hopefully not much
Yeah.
happens between them. Your guys' profession is one where I hope we have really good.
Yeah.
Well, I can have Deputy Dressler go to that meeting and he can sign the contract for him and
All right,
we'll be golden then.
all right,
We'll
I'll,
continue as we have been, like I said, until the 31st of January.
what nights are the meetings? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday. It's Wednesday? All right, I should have to make that. Won't have to worry about missing one of my daughter's ball games. Play most of these.
Should there be emphasis in the contract that, you know, you should have a 10-day notice on any changes?
Well, I think there is.
Well,
think
there
there
was
was.
up until that final expiration.
I don't think I have the contract there.
I think I got one.
That's my file.
Because the contract says
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
it's automatically renewable for those 3 months, but at the end of that 3
It
months,
terminates.
then it terminates.
Unless, I can't remember if it says unless.
Should the new one just automatically renew?
I'd be okay with it automatically renewing as long as we put a maximum number of months on that. So the sheriff's office can't hire a deputy under a temporary contract if we don't know that they're going to do a permanent contract.
Well, and the other
But
thing is the other towns are on a time schedule, like it increases every year and it ends at a certain time and then we redo all the contracts at once.
Sure.
So if you guys are gonna do that, please look at the other ones so that they're all on the same time schedule.
Yeah.
Because we have to deal with that every.
Sure.
Okay.
Where are we at for compensation now? Is it 35, 40? What are we at? Per capita?
I can't answer that question.
Remember, Carl, what that ended up being?
Not off the top of my head.
For the longest time, we were in the 22, 23,
Yeah,
then we gradually worked it up to past 32, and I don't know where we're at now.
Is that in the information that you gave them?
No.
How did you figure the 2,900 per month?
This is something Sheriff Locos came up with 20 years ago, and this,
At that rate that he came up with?
and then it just,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's when Carla said it's gotta be increased, and that's what we started doing, so.
But, yeah,
But so they use the formula for
Yep.
Buffalo Center like they have for Leland, Rake, et cetera, same formula per capita, right?
times number of hours or whatever.
And we haven't been guaranteeing hours on the temporary contract because, again, we have that problem of not being able to hire an additional deputy until we know it's going to be a permanent contract.
Yeah.
How much is permanent?
Well, you need to hire another one now anyway. don't you?
I'm sorry.
How many years are permanent?
I think they've been 4-year contracts, haven't they?
3-year, wasn't it?
I think they're
I was thinking 4-year contracts with the
I think
city
you're right.
I think it runs with the sheriff's
term.
Oh.
term. I think is how it works.
I would think so.
Oh, sure.
So what happens if they drop it? 4 years. We're sitting with an extra deputy.
Well, I would be honest with you, Mike, an extra deputy right now wouldn't be a bad thing anyway.
Um,
This is just a way to try and help
that would
everybody out.
help justify it.
Right.
Mhm.
So if we were to do a permanent contract, it's only gonna be till the end of the year.
Or it could be for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might make more sense
Well, except we haven't negotiated with the other cities yet on
on what their next.
what their next rate's gonna be. That'll be coming up this year sometime, I suppose.
So it does end in a year, you think, Carla, with Dave's term?
I think so, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
That would just be something we need to consider when we're negotiating the terms of that. Yeah. Be hard to justify a 1-year permanent contract to hire a deputy.
Yep.
Yeah,
You know, we always have to give the cities a 1-year notice almost on what the rate's gonna be so they can plan.
So they can plan
Okay.
ahead accordingly.
Right. Well, so will we be just, not me, but will everybody be deciding what that rate will be pretty soon then for the next year?
Let me go grab those
Because
contracts
maybe,
just so we can.
since we're a year out, maybe it's coming closer, we would know what the rates would be too, but.
Oh, I'll second that.
Yeah, there, we get that out of the way. Okay, a motion Senator and second Derby to approve payroll claims, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. Yeah, we need to negotiate all the cities now.
So that will help though, I
What rate
think,
are we
with,
at right now per capita?
Yeah, this is, it's not,
There's a table right there.
yeah, that'd be lovely.
It's about time we get you on camera anyway. She conveniently pointed that thing where.
Yep. Now we have a picture with that voice.
Yes.
I have a voice for radio. Yeah. Thanks for radio.
Hold on a second here. I'm gonna talk about a couple of cases.
Negotiate that for just a moment, please.
Okay, so we're at $40. How does this go?
What's the population of Butler Center?
900 and, geez, I just looked it up too.
just
Is it
under
that
1,000.
970 something or whatever.
Just under 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like for Leland, for example, we do
Might even be 990.
4.5 hours a week. Their population, the contract amount was 6,500 and it's 25.19 per person. That was the original. Now we're at $40 per person. Contract amount is $11,560.
Population, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but
Population.
905.
Okay.
Actually, I've got 893.
Yeah, this is a 210 census.
Okay, and this would be the estimated census.
Oh,
They lowered a lot of the census.
Down a portion of the graph line for the population of most of our
Now,
towns.
in Thompson, I think we're at 40 hours, aren't we?
Um,
If I remember right.
I showed 10 and a half.
and that's just
It
the
was 40 per month.
guaranteed patrol hours that they have to be there. Obviously, they're still in town and everything, but.
Was some of them have like 17 hours a week? This is how Rake has or something?
Rake has 4, Leland has 4.5, Scarville has 1.5, and Thompson has 10.5
Hours.
Per week.
per week.
So do you think the 40 is gonna have to change?
Well, it's, to me, I think that's up to the auditors. She's the one that's doing our bills and stuff, so income and whatnot. I hate to dump that on you.
I think before we were
Did we-
trying to
did
catch
we have a
up
cap?
to the other counties around us, because Hancock was already at 40 when we started the process.
Okay, so is there a cap then of 40?
Well, I'm just saying, we were trying to catch up to
Yeah.
Hancock at that time.
Yeah, is there a cap on that, like there is like on the CSS levy and all that?
I don't think there is,
No.
but you run the risk of maybe them do their own thing, which is
Well, yeah.
expensive too.
If you get more expensive than what it costs to have your own, hire your own.
Well, we're at $11,560 for Leland, $9,000 for Rake, $2,880 for Scarville, and $20,080 for Thompson. So none of those are gonna hire, I mean, it doesn't even cover a third of just the office.
That's not even a third of what their
It's not even a third of what like an officer,
They'd have to all go together and have their own shared services or something.
Which would be a hassle. I don't.
They already looked into that here a few years ago and decided not to go that route.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about sharing that with Rake and Thompson
Oh,
or
sure.
something like that. and that didn't work out. So,
Well, it's hard with those one-man towns. I
Well-
mean, because obviously he's only working 36, 40 hours a week, and then you're
and
not
that's why the
covered the
process
rest
should
of
be
the
much
time.
more clean and advantageous to do it through the
So
sheriff's
in there, the
department.
formula changes, the more hours they want.
We've left the hours steady. And
But
just,
if they wanted more hours, then it's gonna cost.
Then they would have
it's
to
gonna
pay.
cost
We're
more.
just charging them per capita right now, but if they want more than what it is now, then.
Actually, Terry, we are way over our hourly guarantee on every
Right.
community. So if they wanted to increase their hours, it would be business as usual because we're already there. In the 40-some years that I've been involved in this business, I've never had anybody in any of the communities say that they weren't satisfied with the service that they get. You know, we might periodically get somebody saying, they're speeding down Harrison Street in Thompson, or they're running the stop sign in Scarville or whatever, and we sit up there for a while and we take care of it, and we just don't get
When
complaints.
we were raising the rates in Thompson, and for everybody, Thompson started, nitpicking it a little bit and then saying, well, we haven't seen the coverage. Well, it's there, sometimes they just don't see it.
Well, and these guys know when to be in and out of town, the ones that are, it's, they know how to drive by and my kids have heard it and all that when they know when Matt's car is out on patrol when it's sitting by his apartment, it's, they figure it out.
Every kid's got a cell phone.
Yeah.
In the old days, it was all word of mouth, and then
Yeah.
CBs were there, and now everybody's got a cell phone.
Yeah. Good old CB channel.
I know when I was a kid, when the cops came to town, we left town.
Yeah.
Played the cell phone.
Yeah, you get a lot of them guys out there that we call them CB gladiators. Anyway, I guess that's, if you're good with that, and I'll
We'll get them through the
make
month.
sure
Yep.
I'm at the meeting next Wednesday, and we'll see what we can work out with the full council.
Okay.
But John seemed to be very accepting of it.
Okay, and
It doesn't,
their meetings are what time?
I think they're at 6.
The last time we went at 7 in the morning.
That was a special one.
I know, what is-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say 6, what we need to clarify is that.
Yeah, well, 6
Yeah.
a.m. Yes, sir, at 6 a.m.
So I will do my best to be there also. But if
right.
I can't be there, Mike or myself will be there.
All right.
I'll drive you there too if I need to be there. I live in Buffalo Center, as you know.
You do, you
So
won't be
it
that
would
far
be
to
easy,
drive
as long as
there.
I'm not tied up here Wednesday
Yeah.
night, I can.
It's just pretty well cut and dry. I mean, they just have to decide one way or the other, and you're going to be forever until that happens.
I think it's good to have some legal representation there to explain how it works.
So would it be advantageous to have a contract drawn up? So you
Yeah.
can sign it right there at the
Yeah.
time?
So we'll just do it'll probably be pretty basic, just a renewal of the current contract, and then I don't know if we want to put something in about give us 10 days notice if you need to renew it for another month, something like that, I don't.
Are you better off just putting it out there for 3 months?
That's up to the sheriff if he wants a 3-month.
Change the dates on the one you have had with them and.
Because 1 month, I mean, that's gonna go
Well,
by
and
pretty
then,
quick.
the other issue is that we have to talk about, if they do want to pursue having their own policeman, I told them that they were gonna have to contract with the sheriff's department for the extra.
Not to mention, well, the new policeman was at the academy for however many
Yeah,
months,
yeah,
and
and
if it's somebody
that
that's
too.
not already certified,
So-
and there's a lot of
So
variables
even if
there.
they decide to go the other route, they still need to have that contract
There
in
needs to
line.
be, there
With
needs to
some
be verbiage.
wording in it for, well, you know, until he's through the academy, which is
Well-
another thing they gotta pay for.
And vacation and days off and, you know, quite honestly, Buffalo's been real fortunate. The last two officers they had, one was Pat Conroy and one was Matt. Matt was there for 7 years. Pat was there since Moby Dick was a minnow. So, but there's a lot of these small towns that they just hire and they're gone, you know?
Yeah. No, they used to have a lot of that. So, it just reminds me of when Pat first came. But no, I dare tell it not.
Probably shouldn't.
No, it's not naughty, it's actually funny, but, he was, watching the front door of the bar, and I got in with my truck about 1 in the morning to stock up on my buddies were in there, so I went in there and I just had a couple pops with them, and, but they were inebriated. And Pat was watching the front door, and I said, guys, I'm gonna take a bullet for you, because I told him that he was sitting, you could see him sitting around the corner, and he was standing in the bushes by the old liquor store. Oh, Pat, I told him this, well, he knows it.
You shouldn't tell your constituents this, though.
And I said, so I went outside, stumbled to my car, dropped my keys, got in my car, backed it up, drove to the stoplight by Bologna without my headlights on, turned my headlights on, went around, and I saw him go run into his car, and I went home and put my car in the garage, and he circled the block for about 20 minutes trying to decide whether he wanted to come in and get me or not. In the meantime, the rest of my drunken friends left.
I'm certainly glad you told us.
It was so funny. He had to be there.
Location, Joe.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I'll work on that contract extension and
All
get
right.
it to you to take a look at.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I'll send a letter out to the other county or cities and tell them we need to renegotiate.
Thanks for everything, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Open forum and the whole works, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
is this something we notify them that we're gonna, talk about the upcoming contract? Doesn't yet.
Well, I think we need to,
Through budget,
through budget, this, I mean, it's the time we need to,
so when we talk Dave's budget, we need to look at that and say,
Yep.
should it just,
And it's budgeting time for the cities too, so
Yep.
they can get things in their budgets if there's gonna be an increase.
so, yeah, and then Wednesday,
tomorrow,
so we'll discuss it tomorrow and then send a letter out.
okay?
Okay, well, we're down to number 16, discuss budgets.
Well, we gotta do payroll first and
Oh.
then
Well, we voted on it, you didn't hear us?
payroll?
Yeah.
She was out the door going to go get the
Oh,
documents right over there. Well, I got it on tape and so does she, so you gotta be careful,
Yeah,
Mark.
no, I was gonna say, Mike made the motion, Terry seconded.
Okay.
All voted aye.
Well, I still need a 5-minute break, so
All right,
I'll be back.
we'll allow it. I just showed these 5-minute break too.
I need to walk a little.
Darn, Rick Morris sits in there.
What are you, is there department heads today?
I think it's just basic budget discussions and then budget meetings are tomorrow.
What are you talking about tomorrow?
I believe so.
Cause I kinda just like to go over it, cruise it myself. If you would like to do that, I like to, if you have questions on it.
I'll call you about North,
What's that?
can I call you about Northwest Care later?
Sure.
Just want to find out a little more from on it. Let everyone know about the sweatshirt.
Actually, Ted Gassman called me, when was it he called me? Seems like it might have almost been Christmas. Oh, no, it must have been New Year, or Christmas Eve. But, he's, and some guys are trying to, he asked what we would want in the legislation. They're trying to draft some legislation for the parameters of, regions.
I mean, I talked to him too, he called me.
Yeah.
You know,
But,
you gotta
yeah,
revamp this whole thing, and I know it's not, you know, I know I'm asking for a million, because it isn't gonna be that big a wholesale change. What he's proposing won't change much.
Well,
Just the non-contiguous is really about all.
the non-contiguous is the main thing. The rest of the parameters, you're gonna have a hard time getting by the guys in the big communities.
Yeah.
And, because they really like other people's money to pay for their problems, so it's just a way the world is anymore, I guess.
Well, I'll give you a buzz about that.
All right,
I'll stay here tomorrow, depending upon what my schedule's like, coming back.
all right.
To rebuild everything back up after 2 weeks off is kind of a little bit hectic. So I will call you either today or tomorrow. We will get it together, and I've got your number. I'll text you ahead of time, tell you I'm calling, so.
Contiguous border things makes sense in a sense. But I told him, I says, you probably have to put the limit at if you're within one county.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can't have
What,
counties in
Taylor County
opposite
can't
corners. Having, no, I can't say the name of the county, way down in the southwest corner. In Alameda to get, in the same region, it just isn't gonna work for employees, be a little too much travel time.
Forgot my budget.
I forget that.
You just needed the front page.
Yes. Thank you.
Harder for me, that's right.
So these rural recycling contracts, these need to be stamped?
Yeah, we didn't sign them the day that we did that, so.
I just need to sign.
Yep.
So, you sent out the notice for tomorrow yet?
No,
We need to probably get that sent out.
it's posted,
Okay.
so you don't really need to send it if it's posted. It's,
How about the wording to Bob Joss?
I haven't done anything with that. I mean, we've got, it says on there, discuss the amendment or something like that.
I know, but don't we have to get the wording to Bob Johnson to have something to look at, to approve?
But that's what we need to decide, what you wanna
He just
put in there.
Yeah, he just needed the amounts that was gonna be put in there, right?
Right.
Well, we need it like with
Amounts in
roads.
the description.
Right, description, and then so for roads, we need the description of each project.
Yeah.
Be added to it
Which I would assume that,
through Scott's.
yeah, because they're already done, the ones that are beyond, those were the ones that were done.
Right.
So I think he said he had that already.
And he had emailed those to you.
Was that?
He had emailed them to her. I think I got them
You're not us.
No, he emailed them. to everybody.
early on.
Or
we got-
everybody, all right, all right.
I think when we first started talking about it, he sent out what possible projects there were.
Remember what the-
All done?
Sure.
Okay. Budget book, page 8.
Of expenses.
Web expenses. Right behind you. Actually, you, yeah, thank you, it was you guys.
All the mileage is the same.
We don't know the next person that's gonna be halfway through that fiscal year, how much they're gonna use. That's,
That was my thought process.
cause they're probably gonna have to go get trained, they're gonna have to, so there'll be more.
Yeah, we got that new, which you might drive cars. But it's not required, is it?
What are you talking about?
Is there things that
I
are
said,
gonna be
they have-
required? Or is it just certain offices that are required to?
Oh,
have training.
well, there's that new supervisors training that they want to put out there. No, but probably a good idea.
But isn't there certain offices that have to have training?
Well, like
Certified?
me, I have to go to seat training, I have to be certified to do elections.
There's like continuing education units or something.
I think, yeah, well, we do that for seat too. I think the recorder's office has something. I mean,
Yeah.
each office has their own.
But I don't think supervisors have adopted that,
I think they're working on it,
are they?
yeah.
Morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Because there's a stipend for the chair.
But it splits out calendar year versus. Otherwise, there's not much to talk about it. We took out the office furniture then.
I think that's up to you. I can put it back if you want. I mean, I haven't bought
I see,
anything.
I don't foresee anything, so.
Well, this year we might have to buy her a chair over there. She's gonna give that chair over here. This one's pretty bad.
Yeah, but that's to be in this,
It doesn't even roll.
that'd still be in 2020.
I know, I'm
Okay,
just saying.
Yeah.
For this year. Target expenses. We don't know how long these are gonna last either. So it probably should stay in there.
okay.
Well, it's probably only 1 year. Who's sitting there, because we're in the mouth.
There's always on this chair.
That is the
Kevin.
problem. Yeah, I don't think you're probably.
There's always on this chair, just don't work.
Fill up with crap.
Yeah,
They wear out.
yeah. Guess we shouldn't be taking them out on the sidewalks anymore.
Office chair Olympics in the hallway
Yeah.
when you guys aren't here.
Like going to a hotel and using the luggage racks for bottle luggers. I've heard it's been done.
What about this year?
Not really well. We have a pusher.
Push it.
One
Years
rider,
until they slip and
pusher.
fall.
So I guess my suggestion would be put the 500 back in the office equipment.
Okay.
Everything else. What department is Kevin?
51. Page 69.
Because you two need to get out of this first.
We always have.
So you can deprive the public of what I do with the police. What? I hate to deprive the public of my beautiful face. The shotgun.
Zero.
And then, wow, yeah, you know, that's.
What percentage you put in for your salaries on? 4. So the, out to the sheriff's out there, you contract out the snow removal part of it then?
For the driveway and parking lot.
Is that by the hour or is that?
They've got a rate as to what they're doing and what piece of equipment they're using and how long they're there. And then sanding is the real expensive one, but with that driveway, what do you do?
Well, it was nice this morning. Went to public health and it was a little slippery on the slope.
It was pretty well melted off by a little after 8. Didn't take long.
So the heating natural gas one, the third one, what's that covered?
The third one, what number?
43077.
The first one is, no, one's PSC, 43075 is PSC, 43076 is the courthouse, and 43077 is public health.
So that's mostly electric down there.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, their natural gases are reasonable. I did bump the electric a little bit. It's pretty tough to find a number what they claim it's gonna jump. I don't know, 27 might have been enough. Blind guess, who knows?
How have they been doing in town here for the electrical rate? Have they bumped it up?
Yeah, they have.
I know Alliant and Thompson raised it 25%. They've already applied for another rate increase next year.
I think that we're in the same boat with that. I mean, I don't know if it's that much, but I know that we've had quite a few raises.
Most cities power plants at natural gas. I think it's diesel.
Diesel.
Is it diesel?
Yeah.
Where's the diesel gone up that much? Well, they're not generating all the time
Infrastructure.
anyway, I don't
We're
think.
we're paying for the
It's
infrastructure in
Dairyland.
the town. They put underground and
Dairyland, because, and then they only run, like, they run so many times a month, and then they run if there's an emergency, like if there's really bad, like when it was, below zero last winter, they ran 24/7 for like 3 days or something, and then.
I know their rate is lower from Dairyland when you have a power plant.
Yep.
There's other cities looking at wishing they had a power plant for the loss of power times and to get that lower rate.
My grandfather wanted to build one in Buffalo City back in the 50s, so they shot him down. Oh, they wish they would. Well, he wasn't the only one, there were several of them that thought it would be a good idea, it's a bargaining chip.
I just looked up, just for your information, the state, the ISAC salary survey for buildings and grounds. If I can get it to go over where it's supposed to. There we go. And, state average is 53,790.
With an average of 10-year experience.
Yep. And I don't know why we don't have anything in there, but
Yeah, it used to be in there, I'm not sure why it isn't.
Yeah, Chelsea must have not put you in, but like Hancock County, I just looked at them. And their guy's only been there 2 years and they've got him about the same salary that Kevin's at, so, or more. Cause this is last year's, so.
Well, part of that, I think he came off the road crew, so I'm not sure if there was.
Oh, it's.
I'm not gonna guarantee it, but I believe he was with the county before. I think that's what Garmin told me when I talked to him.
All right.
Well, no, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, okay, so repairs on the courthouse, is that in this budget or another budget? Oh, here we go, down below.
Yeah, if you look at the if you're talking about the project, yeah, that's last one.
So
We put 80,000 in there for their demo of the old LEC. Scott gave me some real rough numbers. He suggested 75, and nothing's ever.
Yeah,
I think it's
last
gonna
number
be.
he told me was more closer to 80. But
Yeah.
I remember 80 for some reason.
Okay, that's changed since I got the email then. And the rough, that is just a blind number. Actually, Carla picked that out. Without having the specs to put in front of somebody, any estimate they give you is gonna be worthless. It just, Dave and I talked about that thing, well, just Tuesday. There's so many details, I'll just stop there. There's so many details, sheathing, type of sheathing, and that. The only number I ever recall being thrown out there, and this was 4 or 5 years ago when Rick was here, the architect, he says, he knew it was gonna be north of 200,000 for sure. So what that's gonna be until it's spec'd,
are we,
who knows?
if we can get it done for under the 5, you have 500 in there for it?
Yeah, that's.
Okay. So if we can get it done for under that, do we, identify any remaining just for maintenance of the building? So we have a maintenance program every year?
Well, what, if we don't spend it on the roof, you're probably gonna spend it on that east entrance.
Yeah. If it's not done. What's his timeline now? Is he gonna work on it?
We are waiting for the structural engineer,
Right.
who is going to be here, he hoped, next week. What he's gotta do is look at, one of the, I hesitate to call it footings, cause I don't know if they're footings. One's only about that thick, and didn't get a whole bunch. The other one, he'd bored in 18 inches, so there is more there. But we've got to get him there to see, okay, do we got to dig down 4 feet? What do we have to do to put it back up?
And I think one of the suggestions Dave had was just to have a footing all the way across, to spread it out.
Correct.
And the pillar would still sit in some of those spots, but.
Yeah, because the pillar, if you step out there and look at that needs to be, I'm not going to say redone, but it needs to be pointed and bad stones replaced, and that it's what we knew it was going to be when they took that down. But to answer your question, as far as maintenance, once we are done, we need to get on a 3, 4, or 5 year plan and have whoever come back and go around the whole building and redo the caulking and look for missing shingles. And okay, that stone wasn't bad before, it's replaced, but we only got to replace one. That needs to happen. It didn't happen from the 90s on.
Well, we've got stuff that was fixed 5 years ago, so it's almost to the point where we almost need to start identifying stuff right away.
And they're in the process as they run across stuff, they do that.
While they're working. I just don't want to kick the can down the road too far.
Well, it's been kicked far enough is what the problem is now.
I was just gonna say what everybody else did.
And we're paying for it.
Well, the only thing I tell people, and I've had one or two people ask me about it, and it's not even the cost so much, they're just, well, when's it gonna be done? Well, it'll be done when it's done, but you can do this, or you can spend 9-10 million like Mitchell County did.
Build a new one, yeah.
And build a new one, and one of the judges I talked to, how's that new building? Yeah, it's okay. Okay, not impressed, so.
And then the whole addition will be just a wasted, you know, and the decision to build a new courthouse was for the addition.
Yep, exactly. The decision was made for
Basically,
us.
we've been committed to this building also.
Yep, the decision was made for us.
So you have 200,000 in there for the roof?
500.
500. Very last.
500 or 580?
580.
580 for that line, 580, I'm sorry.
What's that?
LEC is the 80.
LEC is the 80,000 to take that down. 500 for the roof.
Very good.
We are going to, I think in our wording for the urban renewal, attempt to put 80,000 in the TIF funds to be able to utilize for that.
Oh,
It might, if it happens this year, for disposal of it, it would be an amendment.
Okay.
It would come out of TIF.
Okay.
And if it goes on to next year, then it still would come out of TIF, but.
It'd be in the budget for after July 1st.
Right.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't have any questions.
Yeah, I don't have anything either that you guys have a question, I can try and answer it for you as best I can. About the only thing on that roof, I'm not sure if Dave talked to you or not, Carla, that the architect, once he started looking at the incredible amount of detail up there, wasn't real sure his credentials were suitable to write the specs to get bids. But we're trying to work through that a little bit to get him the assistance he needs. That's all kind of still up in the air, but it's just something that popped its head up. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. We might be able to work with one of the roofers through Randall to give him the information, and enough information that he's comfortable doing it. Otherwise, I'm not sure what a person does. If there's a roof guy or girl that's what they do, I don't know. But that's a worry for another day. The only other thing under the salaries, I want to leave that part-time in there. Haven't done it yet. At some point here, I think I'm probably going to be in and talk to you about hiring maybe a seasonal, particularly in the wintertime. It's difficult to keep up with the amount of buildings all over town. But the problem with that is trying to get somebody hired. That's pretty tough to get. I've had a couple people approach me, and the first question I ask them is, how do you feel about snow? That usually takes care of it. So, at any rate, just something to put in the back of your head, something to be aware of.
Got to be connected maybe to young farmers or something that might have some time to do that.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe that's the way to go.
Is there any, like for the snow removal, is there any kind of something equipment-wise that can make it go faster for you?
You know, we put that cab on the tractor. That was probably the smartest thing I've done.
Yeah.
Should have done that when we got the first John Deere.
Yeah.
So that helps. It's, you know what, it's not, there's snow removal, then it's done and the roads are cleared up. Then for the next 2 weeks, we're cleaning up in the buildings. We got automated floor scrubbers to help with that.
Yeah.
And that helped. That was a great back saver too.
Yeah.
It's just time consuming. Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier.
The sand comes in, the salt comes in. It's just, what do you do?
It's just the way it
Maybe
is.
someday they'll have a courthouse Roomba.
Oh, what?
Courthouse.
Yeah, there you go.
Then it'll be taking measurements of the inside of the courthouse, and we've heard that those things are sharing your information of the specs of your house. But,
Well, I don't think on ours it could, because this thing is the type that does things so random. It'll do the same spot, I don't know, over and over, never get around over to this other part, and then he goes back to charge. I'm not impressed. The new ones have the pattern type, where it actually does it like that.
But that's all I've got, if that's all you guys, that's all you've got.
budget is down other than
So
all the exciting stuff with the courthouse project.
the grounds and
Pretty
yard
normal.
upkeep, you're able to go down there, what does that cover?
That went down, we bought the new tractor and equipment last year. So we're kind of back to a normal amount, and I'll be honest, part of that is I don't honestly have a good handle on how much snow removal is gonna be out there at the new building, because it isn't a way for the snow to get done and then move it once or twice. You know, if they get 3, 4, 5 inches up there, you gotta clear it. Those guys gotta get in and out, if we gotta get an ambulance in there, whatever. So a storm may take 3 trips.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta keep it down as it goes.
yeah. And like I say, once we get a good handle on it, you know, we get a normal winter, if there is such a thing.
You have your own, you have a blower there, right?
Correct.
For that place? Yeah.
Yep, yep. We've got tractor brush and blower.
Yeah.
We do the walks and up by the doors and that. And we'll clean up the lot too if we can. You know, the other day when we had Nanch, I just swept the lot because I was there.
Because they just bill us by the hour anyway, so.
Yeah. Yep. And Ray Hans does a nice job out there. He's got the equipment to take care of it. Haven't had too many complaints. The biggest thing out there is getting it sanded and salted at an appropriate time so they can get up there. But other than that, I haven't heard anything. If there's been any issues, I sure haven't heard about. As far as the PSC, just for your information, hopefully next week, Jeremy and his cohort from Midwest Construction, I'm hoping will be here. That was the plan, and put in those last 2 valves. Now we're not getting, and everybody was on the same page out there, the system is gonna work, but we're not getting those big 2-inch valves replaced because nobody was willing to just say, hey, we need to replace those and be done with it. What we came up with, we're not taking a step down as far as efficiency, but we're definitely not getting those big valves replaced. We're just stepping down the water into I think it's a 1 inch or 1.5 inches. I'd have to look. So they will be able to turn off the water in the holding cell and in the work release area. Work release isn't a big deal because those guys get in and out all the time. Where they have problems is the holding cells. People come in fresh and they're not happy, and they've had to jump in the closet there, I know, a couple times and kill water because they're throwing water and trying to break stuff. So, but hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll be fixed. They're bringing some magnetic door sensors to replace. It's hard to describe, but there's the doors we have now, there's a unit, the easiest way I can say it, there's a unit up in the door frame. There's an adjustment on there. How these adjustments got broken, they just did. They're broken. You can't get it so it doesn't come out of alarm. You can't adjust it so that it says, oh, I'm closed. I'll stop bleeping on the screen in the comm center. They're bringing some magnetic switches, which is just 2 plates. One goes on the top of the door, one goes in the door frame. It's closed, magnet makes contact, okay, I'm happy it'll go off. So we're hoping to alleviate some of those alarms with those. So hopefully next week.
Will they be adjustable then?
You know what, the only adjustment they've got is up or down with a washer underneath, which we did do to one. But they're either closed or they're not closed. I can't see why. I'm not sure why we just didn't use those everywhere. Because there's just no adjustment to them. They work.
All right.
So anyway, just FYI, hopefully next week, hopefully we're there. So.
I didn't have anything else.
Latest YouTube.
Actually, no, it was Roger Jarch just sent me a message. I wanted to, when Cassuth County Supervisors wanted to know if I was going to the executive board meeting at CSS on the 16th. We're going to discuss some of the transition stuff like this.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Mine is on page 9. And my election budget is on page 27. So you get the whole picture.
Most of your increase in the first part is because of the new
salary.
Salary.
And so I did my salary, Chris's salary, and half of Chelsea's salary out of the auditor budget. And then Lindsay and half of Chelsea's is out of elections.
That was 27, you said?
Page 27.
The election is basically just the setup.
And elections is one of those that's every 4 years, it's more on our end of it.
Yep. Well, like you never, like you have to budget, because you never know if there's gonna be a special election, or if there's gonna be, something, so you kind of have to keep a little in some of the places just to make sure that you're covered.
Is there any way to run a report? On state budgets, they have a thing that's called deobligated.
What?
It's called deobligated. So, say in here, you put in 200 and some thousand for elections, and your actuals are only 105. You deobligated 100,000. It'd almost be neat to see a report of which department deobligated. Of course, you're crossing over. That's how we make it through a budget year. You're borrowing from one to get to another. But it'd be interesting to see the deobligated every year. There's certain ones that are over appropriating. Is it justified?
I don't know how I would run that. Maybe there's a way to.
separate column where you're taking this column minus this column equals this column, type of thing. On a spreadsheet, it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, I could. Maybe figure that out.
But, you know, and it shows up, I mean, well, except for when you look at 2019 actuals, we have to go back and look at what was appropriate for 2019 to know that. And we don't know 2020 yet, so 19 is the most accurate one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd almost be a column that says deobligated / overruns type of thing. And a plus or minus. Deobligated would be a plus, and overrun would be a minus. Or it's just deobligated in a negative manner or something. So your equipment, you got 10,000 into new equipment. What's that gonna get us? Replacement?
There's it's like a scanner. It's for absentees, and instead of running everything through the machine, which takes a really long time, we run it through the scanner, and it does a central count faster than what we can do right now.
Without the possibility of being hacked.
Right. That scanner is about $10,000.
And then you have voting machines and equipment. You're buying some this year and some next year.
What one is that?
It's 27,800, first page of elections.
That is maintenance and our
Software.
Yeah.
Agreements.
Yep.
And that doesn't go through Eric's budget.
No.
There's also an office equipment repair that'd be outside of that. That'd just be down below in 44,400. There's an office equipment repair.
Yep. The one is for software, one is for maintenance.
Okay. And everything else looks like it just, I suppose, the type of election made the changes.
Yep, so like, the 708 in the middle, that would be like a city or school.
Right.
Whereas like the 714, that would be like either a franchise election or like a community college, because they have special elections all the time.
Okay. Well, should we do Kelsey?
Yep, she's Department 4. Page 14.
Are you still getting funding for your victim coordinator?
Yep, so that's on the revenue sheet. So my grant is $22,950 for that fiscal year. I will point out, so I have budgeted for her $25,495 as salary. If you look in the years past, she never even comes close to that. She's hourly, she's part-time.
It's a demand, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So she doesn't come in, for example, she's actually out on medical leave right now. She's not gonna make up those hours unless she absolutely needed to
How's
for
that
some
reflect
reason.
on the grant?
It doesn't matter as long as we're not going, well, what do you mean, I guess?
Okay, so we're getting $22,950. Do we get that no matter what?
No, we get whatever I make a claim for.
Okay.
So if I only spend, or we only spend 14,000 on her salary, we would get 14,000 back from the grant.
There's no matching requirement.
There is a small matching requirement. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on what it is right now. It's not very much. I'd have to look at what we got.
A lot of programs are 80-20, but
No, it's nowhere close to that, I don't believe. I can't think of what it is now.
all right.
If you look at my revenue sheet, if you look at the years past, so 2018, for example, we got $18,638 from the Victim Witness Coordinator Grant, yet I only paid her a salary of $14,760 plus some expenses, so we actually got reimbursed for everything.
Okay.
Because we're not using up all that grant money that we have.
So why is that a $25,000 expense, and we're gonna get that?
So it's just her hourly rate. So I've given her a raise, so if she worked all of her hours that she could possibly work, she could make up to, yep, it's just, yeah, at least in, 18, 19, yep. So she doesn't come into work if she doesn't need to work. Like I said, she's not gonna make up these hours unless she needs to, which is nice. She's not just sitting there twiddling her thumbs by any means. She's busy too, so.
I don't have any other questions.
What are we putting in, what is that, a 20% increase in insurance, or what was it?
Yeah. Because we won't know what it really is until after we're done with budgets, unfortunately.
Hopefully it's not more.
Yeah.
Well,
And are they
hopefully.
looking at other opportunities?
Yes, they're looking at all sorts of stuff for us. It's hard to look though when we don't really know where we're at yet, so.
All right. I didn't have anything else.
Mine's pretty straightforward usually, so.
Yeah.
This year, I do have a current case that has numerous doctors as witnesses. If it goes to trial, I'm gonna probably have to ask for a budget amendment because I'll have a lot of witness fees, but that's usually my only real unpredictable expense, so.
You have to pay the witnesses to come in.
If, like, professional witnesses, yeah.
Not ones that they're just giving opinions, or, yeah.
Yep,
Why would
medical
we pay
opinion.
for that?
The state does, well, we do.
Yeah.
It's the state's expense because I'm presenting them as the witness. If the defense calls them, we wouldn't pay for that. Yeah, but if I call them, then I have no idea if, I never know what cases are gonna go to trial or
It's
not.
public knowledge, isn't it?
That,
Case.
the particular case,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a public case. I'm not gonna discuss which one it is though, or anything, but.
No,
And
I-
I have doctors in a lot of cases. Any sex assault, you're always, I shouldn't say always, you're usually gonna have a doctor listed. It's just whether it actually goes to trial or not. If it never goes to trial, I never have the expense.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. That-
Yeah.
That side of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I list doctors and whatnot all the time. It's just whether it goes to trial. I just have one right now that has many, many, many doctors. I don't have any indication of whether it'll be a trial or not.
I wasn't thinking like sexual assault, I was thinking of injury.
Sure. Yeah, and that's usually where it would come into, any type of assault case, anything like that, where there's injury and we need the medical opinion.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
We need more sale of seized property.
Maybe you wanna see if like Julie or Chris can come in?
Fill the void.
Or we could do some more miscellaneous stuff, but I'll be right back.
Do you guys have any more on the auditor one?
That's right, I do. Secondary roads and sheriff.
Well, and the sheriff, both of those are bargaining groups or unions too, so.
Yeah, and I'm talking like, you know, cars and, you know, all that stuff. And even that is fairly cut and dried.
Well, public health is gonna be interesting. I'm curious.
Oh, that's just gonna come down to what we wanna,
Do you know how their budget, I didn't look in here, what their budget's gonna
oh,
look like?
they'll spend what they requested.
Is it gonna be the same this year as last year, or?
I don't know, I'm talking to Julie. In my opinion, I've told them this, that there are, I think there's areas where they go overboard and costs, you know, they'll get paid, you know, like for in-home calls.
How come the 2018 actuals were so high
For what?
for the grand total?
What? The expenditures?
Well, some of that could be construction projects,
It's 30,
like you got the jail is finishing up, isn't it?
31 million, yeah, I suppose the jail was 31,710,000, and the 2019 actuals were 16 million.
And you look at the roads too, what kind of projects did they have in 18 compared to 19?
18 was probably the jail because,
Evidently. But even that is, that was only 6 million of it, 5 million.
Yeah, I'm looking at this request from, general basic for nurses. It went from 131,721 last year, more than twice, 281, or 285, doubling their request. That would be a lot of pressure right there.
on page 4, there's $15 million. That might have been when we did the refunding,
Oh, yeah, that was what, yeah,
so that could be it.
yeah.
Because you got pay that.
Yeah, you gotta pay it off, and then, but then you get it back on the revenue, so revenues would have been higher than too, so. Yeah, I forgot.
I do have a question. Melissa Michaelis, when I was entering salaries, put herself in for a 29% raise.
That might be a little misleading thing on how yours looks. It wasn't like that in the budget. But, see, last year it was different because we were paying CETA for consulting, and it's, well, the budget we looked through and approved wasn't like that.
Okay. Well,
There was an increase, but that's because of the full-time employee. Means there's two of them now.
I changed her and put it in at a 4% raise, but so that's what she gave me is no.
I'll have to grab my sheet and bring it in.
Okay.
Because I know their sheets compared to your sheets, they're always gonna look different. Just, we'll have to look at it.
All right.
How it compares.
Yeah, the overall, I mean, I remember the overall budget
Was up.
but not just on her salary.
Most of that was because we didn't have cash carryover we were stealing from. Our revenue request is gonna be much higher.
Yeah, I saw that too.
We've been borrowing from ourselves for too long, and it's gone.
Yeah.
That's where we were talking about, we need to see if we can utilize the TIF monies next year to do economic development.
Do you want to look at some stuff in 54? So some of the things that I have questions about are, what do you want to do with the libraries?
We had home base Iowa in there for 50,000.
What's that?
Home base Iowa for 50,000.
Oh, I put the wrong number there. That should be 5.
Should be 5,000.
Yeah.
So say I was looking at their increase, and it's $100,000 for the.
Which one?
Yeah, two. The total for general miscellaneous is up 100,000. 800. So, we're just on 45 of it anyway.
We are going to, the way it sounds, they're getting close on doing the home base Iowa, so we are gonna start a program on it. That's probably something we need to discuss with Melissa, because she's been working with that.
And labor relations services. What is that?
With Mike Galloway
Is that
and,
okay with my guess? Yes. We'll go up 10,000 on that.
I don't know, I just put in a number.
Like today's call, is that,
By
does
the
that
hour.
cost us by the hour?
I guess.
But this is gonna be pretty minimal this year and next year, because we have no negotiating to do on any unions.
True.
It could cut there.
Yeah, we can do whatever you guys want.
I would say at least go back to the 15,
Okay.
not less. Because in 19 2019, you used 16,925.
What's that?
I said they can't find
Now the
This is the
negotiation.
only one
Yeah.
I had.
No, I can't find the original, where you have them.
Oh, sign it?
Yeah.
How much time does he put in? Get that much.
It's not cheap.
Geez, must be about $500 an hour.
What is it?
Like 100
Oh, he's more than 150. Good night to Lake Mills lawyers are 200.
Is he strictly by the hour or is he contract besides?
strictly by the hour.
He's the one, right?
Yeah.
I bet he's gonna be 50, 400.
He's gotta be.
Do you wanna stamp that?
His range is probably down there, so.
Well, you know, I started figuring out, you started paying secretary, insurance.
Oh, no, I understand why it is. You just don't wanna have to use
We haven't
it.
had a chance to initiate her yet.
She's in this morning a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've seen her.
I can bring her over. We'll introduce her.
Who's else in the back?
That was Lindsay.
That one back there? No,
Oh, that
that's
was,
not the one I saw in the office.
okay, so was that wasn't, from Chris's office, was it?
She get a new one in there?
No, the newest one, but no.
Yeah, no, that wasn't her. I didn't recognize the one that was here. Oh, it is her, that was her.
This is Lindsay.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Terry. Nice to
I'm
meet
too
you.
stiff to get up.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Bill.
Hi. So,
All
that's
right.
all I wanted.
Yeah, now I know who was sitting back there.
I mentioned something about initiation, but
Oh,
it's probably frowned upon.
So.
all right.
Where are you from then?
I am from Forest City.
Forest City?
Yeah.
And the Langfold, where is that coming from?
My husband, Joe,
Yeah,
who's from Forest City also.
he's from Forest City, Langfold, Forest City, Langfold said.
Yes.
I know a lot of Langfolds, but I'm not from Forest
Really?
City.
Who's his grandpa, I guess, but I don't know who I.
Robert,
Oh,
Bob
okay.
Langfeld. Yep. Yep. Just recently passed. Yep. So,
All right, well, welcome.
thank you very much.
Will you take this back to Chelsea if you're done?
Yeah, I have signed it, yes, I
And
have.
then what was your name?
Kingland.
Mark,
That's my uncle.
it's your uncle.
Yep, my dad is Joel.
Yeah,
Really?
Yep.
he did our church project, out there in Westbury.
Yeah,
Back
yep.
in 2000, I think, or so.
I helped on that.
Yeah, all right.
Yep. All right. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks.
So then, maybe. Town audited and clerk, well, that's like the auditors and stuff that come in.
External.
Where's that one?
Fourth one down on page 75.
Yep.
We have a meeting for the NCRE, or the RC, Regional Emergency Management, this next week. I'd almost bet they're gonna try and push for an increase,
Increase.
so that may change. In my opinion, they seem to be carrying forward a good one, but I know they got equipment purchases they have to do down in Mason City, so. We'll see.
I did put that legal and court fees on page 75, the top one, just because I didn't know what was gonna happen with secondary road guys with that.
Oh,
No, if they sue us.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those feeler things where they'll do this for free, but beyond that, you have to pay.
Okay. So do you want me to leave that in there? You want me to take it out?
Well, it didn't sound like they were going. Okay.
oh, yeah. I don't know what to do. I don't think that they have a very good legal position.
No, I think that's what they bumped us. I would take it out.
Okay. libraries, you wanna leave them at 100,000, or do you wanna take them up, give them up what they requested?
What page is that on?
That's a great question.
Where's that? Somewhere?
Oh, they have their own, fund.
It's on page 63. What was their request?
110,000.
I don't know why, we can't ask them to cut a little bit when we're asking everybody else to do.
Trying to think.
Well, stay the same.
The last time the increase was probably 4 years ago,
Say,
Yeah. Ish.
so that'd be 2.5% per year increase is what the average is.
rate of inflation, but.
When you look at though what the county's required to give them, it's only like 50 or 30, I mean, it's a low amount. So we're giving them well above what the state requirement for libraries.
Do we know what the other counties are giving?
I think it's kind of all over the board. Some give just at the maximum. I actually heard that Jasper County is reducing what they give their libraries this year. Over the next 5 years, they're taking down further. So it just, like I said, I think it just depends on.
How they make it then, because you can't hardly make it without some kind of cost of living increase.
Well,
Unless they have another.
they get
channel of
money from
money
the
coming
cities, they get grants, they
I'm
get.
trying to think if they have a casino down that way.
Jasper, I don't know.
Not Jasper. Well, Jasper's close to one here, but, I'm thinking, you said Jackson?
No, Jasper.
Jasper. Okay.
Jasper County is cutting theirs.
What's Altoona and Jasper or in Polk?
It's in,
Polk, I think. He's part of Polk.
Yeah, it should be. What is it, 5 libraries in the county?
Yeah.
2,000 a library.
What do you think? Well, no.
what they're asking.
Increase.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so.
I guess I'd like to sit on their request for now.
Okay.
And we'll see in the end how we're sitting.
Okay. So the fair, what do you want to do with them?
What department are they?
They're close to where we're at here somewhere. 34. So they requested 35,000 this year.
Again?
Yep.
Tom Thompson tried to get together with me before Christmas, and we just couldn't connect. He wanted to talk about it. I don't know if it had to do with this, or I heard they're gonna be actually having a midway. They said they're using, somebody told me they're gonna use the same midway that goes to Algona and or something. So they're actually.
They're actually gonna have some rides.
Yeah. So it could be he just wanted to get together with me because he needs more area. He wants to get some of my property too. You know, they've been parking trailers on it, but they may want to do more, you know, football fields. And they just had a baby last week, so he's tied up. I'm okay with them staying at 35. What do you guys think?
No problem. Yeah.
I know there's some counties that are cutting back on things like that, but I kind of like the library. It's kind of one of the
Sacred
priorities.
cows. That's the governmental world.
I know all the small libraries really appreciate it. I can tell you that Fort City Library really appreciates their money because they're always under pressure. So it's just as important or more important than like the big libraries.
Yeah. Libraries provide a good service. We do, it's just, I mean, if anybody, a lot of it's just the people who can't afford their own Wi-Fi, computers.
It's just hard to gauge, because you don't know who's actually using it. Is it a resource center, or is it a convenience? Convenience is even good.
There are people that can afford to get their own Wi-Fi that do use that, or can afford their own computers that do go to a library. I know a couple in particular. But
I don't think it's,
I don't think it's overall, there's people that it benefits.
I think it's the books, like Chelsea every week goes and gets a book at the library. You know, and that there's a lot of people that I know that, like, the kids rent movies and.
I was watching a news report from Rochester, of course, on Channel 3, and they were talking about the fourth highest checked out book was the Minnesota DOT driver's training manual.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of having to go get their own copy of it, which was pretty thick, they just checked it out. That's all they needed it for, just to get through their test.
Yeah.
So just resources like that are.
Don't they give them away though?
Well, they do, but just to have to go get it.
Yeah.
It's
You go to the library,
easier
you
to
just
get
check
it at
that
the
one
library
out.
locally.
It's a lot closer than driving 30
I don't know,
miles.
maybe
to the
Minnesota
courthouse.
makes you buy it or something, I don't know. So on that 54, we were gonna lower the labor relations down to 15.
Yep.
And we're, for now, putting home-based Iowa at 5,
Nope.
scratching the legal fees and court related.
Yep.
And the mapping.
That has something to do with Sue does I don't know if that's the.
We cost share that with her.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering, why did we not approve anything last year?
we did, we approved it in a different spot. I think we moved it.
Oh, it's up there farther.
Yep,
So you got it 2 places.
yep.
So maybe scratch the
I'll
one.
take the one out on the bottom.
Okay. Wow, we just made a lot of cuts.
What is that, 40 years or something?
55, 65.
Page in.
We just cut $80,000 out of that. That's on 75. So that's down to 250. We're only up 2,000 or so.
Mapping is why that's the used to that 15 out.
Yep.
Where'd you drop?
Okay, so that's gone because it's up here. So we've got that one now. What do you have scratched out up here? You've got those two. So yeah, we've taken out 80,000 out of that budget.
I haven't changed, like, I just got the stuff from Joe Myrie, so I'll have to change his stuff. Let's see, where's that at?
For what?
For the dues and memberships,
Okay.
and, yeah, they did ask for more for the NCRERC. They asked that to go up to 82,586.16. 82, 59 there.
What do you think you're gonna ask? 82 what?
8258 or 59.
That's for what?
NCR.
North Central Regional Emergency Response Commission.
Yep.
With a slight increase there.
And local transportation will be 17,712.
So we're close on the 17.8.
Yep. And then where's the other one? NIACOG dues.
Is that another department up in the beginning?
I don't know why that is different. I'm gonna leave the NIACOG dues at 2,700.
Oh, that's what that was.
Should probably change the newspaper too. The board proceedings, the last couple of years, the actuals have been over 12,000. So maybe we do 12,500.
Are we gonna stick with just the 2 official and 4 city as needed?
That's kind of what, I think that's what you approved today.
So 12.5. So there's a, right underneath that, there's the dues and memberships. What are those covered? 12,000. Does that have to do with ISAC or?
I'll have to look at that and get back to you. So it looks like the one year it was 12,000, then it went down to 1,400, so. I'll have to see what was paid out of there and what the difference is.
Well, and then labor relations went, oh, that was just because of the.
Yeah, because we've only used 500 so far.
Well, depends on when they bill it.
Yeah. That would be in line with 1421s.
Well, time for lunch.
Yep.
Be back at 1.
Who's this afternoon? Julie?
Julie, Chris, Guth, Scott Minders, and Andy Buckington. Although I don't know